The battlefield was strewn with corpses, and the ponytail-haired war god stood tall amidst the ruins. With a clean sword stroke, another enemy fell before they could even gasp. 3 martial arts grandmasters appeared. Shaolin abbot Hyun Jin Chun, Manhwa sect leader Zhang Guang, and Namgung clan head Namgung Huang, boasting loudly, "He's exhausted, kill him now." The ponytail-haired man sneered, his eyes blazing. "Now. Only you remain." The 3 old men took their stances. The Shaolin abbot called out, "Amitabha, prepare yourselves." The war god's bloodshot eyes gleamed with a deadly light, staring directly at his enemies. The old abbot wielded his golden staff, charging to attack, but was easily blocked. The old man was pushed back, his face pale with shock, unable to believe his opponent's strength. "Demonic heretic!" the old abbot roared, channeling his internal energy to unleash a supreme technique. The Great Buddha Palm technique shot out a massive, verdant energy blast, aimed directly at the war god. The war god merely swung his sword lightly, and the verdant energy blast was cleaved in 2 as if it were a joke. The old abbot was stunned, his mouth agape and eyes wide, seeing his ultimate technique neutralized so easily. Enveloped in a blazing red demonic aura, the war god charged forward, roaring, "I'll kill you first." He deliberately exerted pressure on the old abbot, shouting, "You old fools, what are you waiting for? Now is the time." Manhwa sect leader and Namgung clan head immediately launched attacks from both flanks. A perfect pincer attack. Manhwa's plum blossom flash, and Namgung's myriad thunders unification. 2 supreme techniques simultaneously converged on a single target. The war god was caught between 3 earth-shattering forces, taking the full destructive combo. Boom! A crimson energy explosion engulfed everything, fresh blood splattering everywhere. After the attack, Manhwa sect leader and Namgung clan head stood facing a horrifying sight. The war god reappeared, holding Hyun Jinchon's severed head, coldly declaring, "Next." The 2 remaining old men's faces drained of color, stammering, "Monster." Whoosh! The war god narrowly dodged the attack, leaving behind a dark, blurry trail. Namgung clan head roared, "Fall back," unleashing a lightning-infused technique to block the charging demonic god. Manhwa sect leader gritted his teeth, blocking the demonic god's attack. The clear disparity in strength made the old man cry out, "Kook." Demonic god Jung Chon sneered, a blazing red sinister energy enveloping him like a true monster. Recalling the past, to eradicate the one who had single-handedly plunged the Central Plains into a sea of blood, the elites of the 9 great sects had to gather, determined to fight this demon to the death. But facing the one hailed as the greatest under heaven, the alliance was merely like a mantis trying to stop a chariot, pushed to the brink of annihilation. Back in reality, Namgung clan head growled, asking, "Old man, is the trap ready?" While both were locked in fierce combat. Manhwa sect leader retorted sharply, "Of course, it's ready. This will be your grave, you bastard." He unleashed the supreme technique, endless plum, blossom rain, the entire space filled with a sea of rose petals as sharp as blades. The demonic god stood at the eye of the storm, surrounded on all sides by countless petals of death. Blood gushed from his sword-wielding hand, but Manhwa sect leader refused to fall. Not yet. Images of his peaceful family flashed before his eyes. That was why he had to fight to the very end. With blazing eyes, he roared in his mind, "I cannot die here." At the same time, a voice rang out, announcing the next technique, Namgung sword art, 5th form. Black dragon demonic slaying slash. Kwa! A desperate scream echoed. Manhwa sect leader Zhang Guang collapsed, dying on the spot. Namgung clan head did not flinch at his comrade's death, charging forward to unleash a completely different technique. The supreme technique, unimpeded sovereign, created a prison of blue sword energy, enveloping the demonic god from all directions. Taking the full blow, the demonic god bled, but merely sneered, "Namgung, you damned rat. That hurt." But the demonic god's painful past suddenly resurfaced, images of a woman and 2 children covered in mud. The demonic god sneered at Namgung clan head's supreme technique. "It's just an itch," leaving the old man stunned. Without bothering to dodge, the demonic god used his bare hand to block the razor-sharp sword blade, and crimson-black sinister energy began to erupt. A massive surge of demonic energy swept away the sword energy prison. Namgung clan head's power was like child's play. Namgung clan head took a full slash of demonic energy, a blood-gushing cut appearing on his face. The old man was sent flying like a tattered puppet, letting out a tragic scream. Collapsed but still struggling to rise, he roared curses. "Zhongqian, you filthy demonic heretic." Refusing to accept defeat, Namgung clan head poured all his remaining strength into his sword. All of his internal energy converged, creating a dazzling blue sword energy. His final supreme technique was unleashed. A destructive beam of light shot straight towards the demonic god. The attack hit its mark. Namgung Clan Head poured all his hope into this life-or-death thrust. He screamed in a frenzy as the sword energy pierced directly into the demonic god's chest. "Die and be gone from my sight." Convinced of the finishing blow, Namgung Clan Head growled, "Your stubborn life ends here." But no, the demonic god's blazing red eyes still gleamed with bloodlust. He was completely unharmed. In that instant, images of a happy family with lanterns appeared. That was what Namgung Clan Head wanted to protect. The demonic god grabbed the sword blade with his bare hand right before his chest, his voice icy. "It's over," leaving Namgung Clan Head frozen. Crack! He crushed the treasured sword, roaring, "I said it's over, this damned fate." Without a moment's hesitation, the demonic god plunged the broken sword hilt directly into his enemy's heart. Namgung Clan Head's eyes widened in horror. A blazing red demonic energy invaded his body, blood gushing from the corners of his mouth. With a powerful yank, the demonic god tore open the old man's chest, completely ending the battle. Splurt! The demonic god coldly pulled the broken sword hilt from the Namgung family head's chest. Blood gushed out as the old man stared blankly at the one who had completely overwhelmed him. In his dying moments, he still couldn't believe it. How could this be? I had pierced his heart. Has he already surpassed human limits? Finally, he realized the true nature of his enemy. This is the demonic god. A cold notification appeared, ending a legend. Namgung Huang. Deceased. The demonic god's black and red demonic energy surged into the sky, signaling the collapse of an old power. Jiangchun stood there with lifeless eyes, declaring concisely, "The 9 great sects." An entire battlefield was littered with corpses, proving his brutal declaration, have been wiped out. He looked down at the blood-stained sword in his hand, as memories from the past began to flood back. Standing amidst the ruins, the demonic god remembered his lost family, wondering if this revenge was enough. The flashback began. A young Jiangchun was being ganged up on and called an arrogant brat. A hand reached out, grabbing the stubborn boy's head. His master grabbed young Jiangchun by the collar and pulled him up, while the boy yelled, "Why are you hitting me?" This was his first memory. Young Jiangchun swung his wooden sword, beginning his martial arts journey under his master's guidance. He recalled his wandering life, sword never leaving his hand, with no place to shelter from the rain. Clang. Endless life-or-death battles ensued. To survive today, another must die, a meaningless cycle of slaughter. Amidst piles of corpses, he wondered if this life had any meaning, if it was too fleeting and empty. A gentle voice echoed in his memory, interrupting his dark thoughts. "I understand that feeling." The woman of his life appeared, sharing about her harsh life, stating that in this world, one cannot survive without seeing others as enemies. In his memory, his wife spoke of a past filled with loss, but found a new reason to live, asserting, "Those moments are the most precious. They give us a reason to live again." She smiled, advising him, "Why don't you create your own meaning, great hero Jiangchun?" The memory faded, and harsh reality emerged. He collapsed beside his wife's corpse, bitterly admitting, "I had wanted to live with her. She became the reason to live for a man who only knew how to kill." The sword was raised once more, solely for revenge, beginning a wandering life submerged in a sea of blood, questioning the purpose of existence. He remembered his wife's radiant smile, a rare moment of peace. The Jiangchun of old, a weathered warrior, yet his eyes still held a trace of humanity. But then everything shattered, leaving only tears and ultimate pain from losing everything. He was once a hero, thanked and revered by a small family. His reason for living had once been right there. 15 solitary years on the path of slaughter, his blade dulled and his body covered in scars. Finally, after achieving his revenge, he dropped his sword, collapsing before the dawn, ending the life of the demonic god Jiangchun. A strange voice rang out, questioning who dared to barge in here and demand to buy his martial arts for a few silver coins. Too noisy. Jiangchun opened his eyes, his crimson eyes flashing, wondering, "Have I finally descended into hell?" A group of strangers were discussing, wanting their son to inherit the Manhwa family's secret martial arts techniques, because the other brother had met with misfortune. Jiangchun, in a completely unfamiliar body, froze. "What is this? Is this not hell?" A boy with a top knot yelled, "Absolutely not. My brother is still alive and well. How can the family's martial arts flow to an external lineage?" Another girl retorted even more fiercely, "You aren't even distant relatives. Even if my brother can't inherit it, your martial arts belong to the Yomhwa family." The eyes of this new body suddenly flashed with the familiar crimson of the demonic god. He looked at the bristling children in front of him, completely bewildered. "Who are you?" The leading man smirked, acting as if everything was already calculated. He waved his hand with an air of superiority. "It seems this matter won't end easily. Very well. Let me make an offer." The second young master, Chong Dobo, made a dirty wager. "I hear those two kids are dirt poor, so I'll bet with money." He pointed directly at the demonic god's new body, proposing a life-or-death wager. "Hua Mujin, you bet the entire martial arts legacy of your family. Winner takes all, loser gets nothing. Are you in?" He smirked, confidently asking again. "What do you say?" The children bristled, vehemently protesting. "What? My brother hasn't even been able to train due to his madness. Do you think we're stupid enough to fall for that trap?" The demonic god in his new body clicked his tongue, looking annoyed. "Tsk, so noisy." He turned to the children and asked nonchalantly, "Hey, who is this Hua Mujin guy?" He lifted his head, his eyes sharp, declaring his true identity. "I am the demonic god, Jiang Chun." Chong Dobo heard this and sneered. "What? Who are you?" "Jiang Chun, the one they call the demonic god?" He acted superior, sarcastically mocking him directly. "The fun is over. Why not just call yourself the king of hell?" It turned out this was Chong Dobo, the second young master of the Chonghua Merchant Guild. The children could only hang their heads in shame, speechless at their brother's outburst. Bu Choyon, the woman in red, also shook her head in exasperation, getting crazier by the day. She, the head of the Chonghua Merchant Guild, spoke with a lecturing tone. "With such an air, the fate of the Yomhua family is sealed. This isn't bad news for you." Chong Dobo picked up the martial arts manual, a sinister smile on his face. Nothing left to say. He decided on his own, allowing no arguments. "Your silence, I will take as agreement." The entire group from the Chonghua Merchant Guild turned their backs and left, unilaterally sealing the deal. Chong Dobo set the time and place, so it's settled. The 5th day of next month. He turned back, giving a sharp glance, uttering a threat. "We will meet at Flying Shadow Pavilion. A martial artist's promise. If you go back on your word, you know the consequences." They left, leaving the demonic god still muttering his name, demonic god, Jiang Chun, as if reminding himself who he was. The children looked at their brother in fear. The younger sister stammered, "What are you going to do? You've never even properly swung a sword before." The demonic god, still processing, pointed at his own face and asked back, "Me?" The demonic god smirked. "Never swung a sword? What a joke." He began to gather his strength, preparing to demonstrate. His eyes flashed with a cold glint, completely different from his dazed look just now. But then he stopped short. "Huh? Wait, it's gone?" No power was found, only two bewildered children staring. "What the hell is this?" he roared in his mind, realizing this body had not a shred of internal energy. He clutched his weak body. "And what's with this useless body? With bones like these, how am I supposed to wield a sword?" His younger sister helplessly pleaded, "Please stop." The girl approached. "Brother, wake up. Even if you're going crazy, only fools and idiots would sit still and endure humiliation." The girl snapped. His younger brother retorted, "Fools and idiots? How dare you be rude to our eldest brother? Apologize now." But the girl was not to be outdone. "Never." The girl burst into tears, pointed directly at the demonic god's face, and screamed, "Our parents died because of you." The demonic god remained silent, his face expressionless, processing the information he had just received. His younger sister ran away crying, leaving his younger brother standing with his head bowed. The boy looked up. "You probably don't remember, this happens all the time." The demonic god simply replied, "Is that so? Then I'll be going." He coldly turned his back and left, ignoring the two children. As he walked, he broke into a sweat. "Even the children treat me like a madman. This situation is truly bizarre." Dusk fell, painting a corner of the sky red. The demonic god stood in contemplation before a colossal stone tablet. Memories flooded back. He clearly remembered beheading the Namgung family head, and the feeling of his heart being pierced. That deadly pain was still vivid. "I even avenged Yonhua and my siblings. I surely closed my eyes in peace." He confusedly wondered, "How the hell did I end up in this body?" The demonic god growled, his face contorted as if he'd lost his last meal. He clutched his head and roared in despair, unable to believe this ironic truth. Memories of children identical to his own siblings flooded back, making the demonic god even more confused. "Crazy? Me? Crazy?" he muttered, completely refusing to accept the label people had given this body. A servant rushed over frantically, shouting loudly, Young master, the servant grabbed him and grumbled. Your body is as weak as a snail, yet you ran outside. Do you know how worried I was? The demonic god squinted at the stranger, coldly asking, Who are you? Causing the other man to freeze. The servant, Masok, sighed wearily. Ah, the madness has returned. All right, I'll explain again. Masok began his familiar spiel. You are Hua Mujin, the young master of the Yomhua clan, a martial arts genius, and this is the 6,209th time I've had to say this. A genius? Then why is my Dantian as empty as a trash can? The demonic god retorted. While also wondering why everyone considered him insane, Masok broke out in a cold sweat, stammering, That's because the stream of memories rewound 17 years to a duel without internal energy. Hua Mujin, only 6 years old at the time, boldly challenged, Dobo, let's have a solo match today. His opponent was Cheong Dobo, 9 years old, who smirked condescendingly like an elder brother. Oh? A solo match without internal energy? The two boys lunged at each other, and a pure martial arts battle fiercely began. Hua Mujin threw a punch straight to the face, which looked quite formidable. Cheong Dobo was pushed back, the boy's face showing clear annoyance. Both exchanged moves continuously, neither willing to yield to the other. But due to the skill gap, Hua Mujin took a devastating blow to the face, while Cheong Dobo merely smirked triumphantly. As expected, Cheong Dobo was completely superior in skill, easily neutralizing all of Hua Mujin's attacks. That brat Cheong Dobo acted superior, mocking Hua Mujin as a talent coveted by the orthodox sects, while the young Hua Mujin could only stare blankly. Hua Mujin hadn't even understood what was happening when that scoundrel Cheong Dobo played dirty, gathering a ball of bright blue internal energy in his hand and cursing, Idiot. Hua Mujin's face turned pale, unable to react in time to the internal energy punch about to hit his face. Boom! Hua Mujin was blown away like a fly, the internal energy punch creating an extremely powerful shockwave. Cheong Dobo landed lightly, acting as if he had just finished cleaning up some trash. Hua Mujin collapsed, coughing up blood, questioning that damn cousin. We agreed not to use internal energy, didn't we? Why did you use the 7 wounds fist? Cheong Dobo turned his back and walked away, with a contemptuous tone. Even now, you still call me brother, Hua Mujin? He explained that the Kongdong sect's 7 wounds fist was an overbearing martial art. Just one strike was enough to leave permanent after effects. This scoundrel even boasted that he had just tested this move on an insolent disciple last week. And now that disciple was still struggling, close to death. He gathered internal energy again, his face twisted into a sinister smile as he asked Hua Mujin, What about you, Hua Mujin? Back in the present, the demonic god, in Hua Mujin's body, muttered, Ah, so that's it, being treated like a madman. If it's due to the after effects of the 7 wounds fist, it makes sense. The demonic god recalled Cheong Dobo's challenge, his blood boiling. You crippled my Dantian, turned me into a madman, and now you brazenly challenge me to a duel? He turned to ask his retainer, Masok. Back then, how was that scoundrel dealt with, that I ended up in this state? Masok replied that it was the former family head's decision. My father? The demonic god asked again. His retainer, Masok, confirmed with difficulty, yes. Masok explained that because Cheong Dobo was the former family head's nephew and the leader of a large merchant guild, the matter only ended with a mere reprimand. The demonic god smirked a deadly smile. So his own son was crippled by the 7 wounds fist, and all he did was scold him? He contemptuously uttered, Truly a pathetic clan. Then turned to Masok and asked, So, where are my parents now? Masok lowered his head, his face unreadable. Then the scene shifted to a gloomy room with 2 coffins placed side by side. The demonic god, in Hua Mujin's body, silently gazed at the ancestral tablets of this body's parents. Masok continued to lament. The young master's madness is worsening. The clan head even took on debt to try and cure him. 9 years ago, Hua Mujin's mother fell gravely ill and passed away. 3 years later, his father followed suit due to overwhelming debt. The demonic god merely listened in silence, his face devoid of expression at the tragedy of others. In a vision, the mother's back and the 2 younger siblings stood before the altar, surrounded by the clan's whispers. The entire Yomhua clan criticized Hua Mujin, a child who tormented his parents to death, a child who devoured his own family. Thus, the reputation of the Yomhua clan ended here. Masok concluded, Now, all that remains is a mountain of debt, 2 loyal retainers, and a dozen warriors under their command. And finally, the 2 younger siblings, young master Hua Dojin and young lady Hua So Yun. Memories flooded back. The 2 siblings screamed at Hua Mujin, It's all your fault that mother and father died, the demonic god mused, a family shattered by a mere illness. No wonder the children reacted that way. As night fell, in his room, the demonic god began to piece everything together himself. Russell. He flipped through the history books in Hua-Mujin's room. He had found several important clues within the pile of historical documents. The demonic god recalled his past life. When I was demonic god Zhong Chon, after the battle with the 9 factions, I truly died. And it seems 30 years have passed. He propped his chin, confirming the situation. This feeling is too real, not a dream. To be blunt, I'm not insane. I've taken over the body of the Yomhua clan's eldest son, Hua Mujin. He sat alone in the room, pondering. In any case, all those I had to kill are already dead, a life without regrets. Suddenly, he picked up 2 crude drawings. Get well soon, brother from Hua Dojin, and recover quickly from Hua Soyun. The image of the 2 pitiful siblings appeared in the demonic god's mind. He realized their story was truly tragic, much like those he had known in the past. Fine, living in this body will do. Perhaps I should help these children for a while. The demonic god looked at the 2 drawings, identifying the biggest obstacle that needed to be cleared. That was the Cheonghua Merchant Guild, the source of all this ruin, the one who crippled this body and ruined the clan. The first task was to prepare for the duel with Chengdobo. He was determined to find a master before the day of the decisive battle. He smirked confidently. So, I have to start again from scratch? Without further ado, he sat down and began the process of cultivation anew. Memories flooded back. He recalled his first martial arts training, a time when even breathing was a challenge. Taking a deep breath, he began to circulate his internal energy. A swirling current of energy began to form within his body, marking the start of his power's regeneration. But perhaps this body's innate talent was extraordinary. He realized he was sitting on a gold mine, with energy exploding around him. He didn't even need the process of sensing energy. Power simply surged forth instinctively. Just closing his eyes was enough. A smug smile appeared. The demonic god's skill was on a completely different level. Boom! His internal energy erupted violently, spreading in all directions like an explosion. The energy converged into a colossal seal, shaking the surrounding space. A shooting star streaked across the night sky, signaling a momentous event. At the same time, elsewhere, news of the change had begun to spread, causing apprehension. Crash! Someone slammed straight into his room door. The loyal retainers rushed in frantically, shouting, "Young Master Hua," only to find him collapsed on the floor. The head retainer rushed over, checked the situation, then gleefully yelled, "Young Master Hua is dead, finally." "Not at all. He's perfectly fine," the scarred attendant coldly interjected. "His pulse is stronger than ever." The head retainer was stunned, muttering, "Damn it, how is he stronger? It's just forming an energy core. What?" The demonic god in his new body questioned the head retainer. "What is this special physique?" The other replied that a Shaolin elder once called it the heavenly martial saint body. The head retainer explained that it was a body bestowed by heaven to follow the righteous path, but his face was struggling to suppress a laugh. The demonic god growled, "Are you mocking me, you bastard?" Cough. The demonic god spat blood, realizing this premium physique was completely incompatible with his demonic arts. The risk was immense. If he stubbornly cultivated demonic arts in this body, the pain would be unbearable, and the outcome would be nothing but death. The head retainer frantically urged the young master to persevere, while the demonic god collapsed helplessly, bitter that among countless heaven-bestowed physiques, he had drawn the most useless one for his path. Lying flat, the demonic god realized the life-and-death duel was only a month away. This situation was truly disastrous. Masok, the loyal retainer, was tending to his master. The demonic god awoke and asked, "Who were those old men from earlier?" Masok revealed their identities. Yomhua clan chief steward Du Bekshan and elder Zhou Huanbong. Individuals with anything but friendly expressions. Amidst his delirium, the demonic god roared in his mind under a sky full of shooting stars. "I won't die, damn it." As time passed, a light rain began to fall outside the dilapidated mansion. Masok's voice rang out, announcing shocking news. "Young master, you've been bedridden for 3 days straight." The demonic god finally sat up, his head tightly bandaged, muttering, "This damn body. I'll probably kick the bucket before even reaching the decisive duel." Silence, too noisy. The demonic god, now cloaked and hatted, commanded, "More importantly, to duel, I need a sword." He pointed directly at Masok's face, his voice full of authority. "Go fetch me some swords immediately." Masok looked distressed, confessing, "We're at the point of worrying about our next meal. Where would we get money to buy swords?" The retainer continued with bad news. The entire clan is taking out usurious loans, and with exorbitant interest rates, the debt is now enormous. Truly a ruined clan, the demonic god concluded, his gaze sharp. It seems I'll have to deal with the money problem first, He pondered, a bold idea striking him. Is that so? If that's the case. The demonic god patted Masak's shoulder, a playful smirk on his face. It's just debt. What's a little more? Stop whining, the demonic god ordered. Write a letter to those two old elders and send it to them. The demonic god, in Huamujin's body, coldly threw back a remark to the retainer. Just say I went for a stroll. With a flash, he vanished behind the window frame, leaving behind the night and the pouring rain. Meanwhile, Elder Zhou Huanbong was trembling upon hearing the news. Young Master Hua went to that loan shark den again? Chief Steward Du Bexian appeared calmer. What's the big deal? They'll just chase him back eventually. But the old elder knew the problem all too well. If he provokes the loan sharks, other lawless gangs will immediately swoop in to tear us apart. Amidst the pouring rain, the demonic god stood before the loan shark's lair, declaring bluntly, "Tell your leader to come out. Huamujin of the Yomhua clan wants to meet him." The gruff gatekeeper Kang Noho stepped out, his voice disdainful. "If you're here to gamble, shut your mouth and play. Don't talk nonsense and get lost." The demonic god didn't bother with words, advancing to confront him, making the retainer Masak turn pale with fear and hastily intervene. No, my young master is just a little unwell." He glanced at the gatekeeper, a gaze sharp as a blade. "What are you looking at?" With just one glance, the gatekeeper Kang Noho felt a chill run down his spine, sweat pouring down him like rain. Whoosh! A gold coin spun past Kang Noho's face. The man hadn't even registered what was happening. A larger man appeared, seemingly a higher-up. The thug hastily reported, while the demonic god asked directly, "Oh, so you're the one in charge here?" The big man asked his purpose, and the demonic god casually flipped the coin in his hand. "I'm here to borrow more money." This man was Deputy Leader Ma Jungbo, who sneered. "So, a customer." Ma Jungbo waved his hand. "If that's the case, there's no need to meet the leader." The man led the way inside, his voice commanding, "Go on in." The group crossed a creaking wooden bridge inside a dark cave, Masak trembling as he called out, "Young master." The retainer was scared out of his wits, stammering, "Let's go back. I have a bad feeling about this." The demonic god brushed him off, his voice full of indifference. "We've come all this way. What nonsense are you spouting?" In another corner, two ruffians were gossiping about the strength of the loan shark assassins, praising them as true martial arts masters. A group of loan shark assassins lurked in their den, ready to receive guests. The two ruffians were still boasting about some formidable ultimate technique called heaven-shattering killing art, completely unaware that death was approaching. Whoosh! Several gold coins spun in the air, signaling a less-than-friendly greeting. The leader of the assassins sneered, mocking that the retainer was smarter than his master, but it was too late to turn back. The demonic god, in his new body, subtly glanced, his invisible killing intent having long since emanated. With swords pointed at his face by the entire group, the demonic god merely clenched his fist, coldly declaring, "Begin." He turned to the deputy leader, questioning, "Was this your intention from the start?" The deputy leader smirked, admitting he had deliberately lured his prey to an isolated spot for easy disposal, without fear of the Yomhua clan causing trouble. He continued to insult, unable to even pay the principal debt. "You're as shameless as your parents." The retainer Masak prostrated himself, begging for his master's life. But the demonic god only retorted with a sharp question. "Like my parents?" With the towering spirit of the demonic god behind him, he declared bluntly, "I have no parents." All the creditors froze, speechless at the impossibly cool reply. The demonic god told himself to sober up, not to confuse the present with his past life, then decided to begin the lesson. The deputy leader ordered his subordinates, "Just teach him a lesson," and all the thugs obeyed, charging forward. Without the slightest hesitation, the demonic god raised his hand, preparing to face them. A foolish assassin charged forward, slashing and yelling, "Die, you brat," while Masak screamed in terror. Whoosh! A black streak flashed past. The assassin's attack completely missed its target. In a blink, the demonic god's hand had seized the assassin's wrist, stopping the attack with effortless ease. Crack! A burst of blue internal energy erupted, and the assassin's arm was mercilessly broken. The assassin could only let out a choked sound, his face contorted with extreme pain and terror. The demonic god lightly dodged the attack, scoffing, "Big body but so weak, this brat moves quite fast." He mused that with this decaying body, guerrilla tactics were better than direct confrontation. Deputy Leader Ma Jungbo lost patience, growling his order. What the hell are you doing? Deal with him quickly. Another assassin swung his sword and charged, determined to finish the target in one blow. The sharp sword grazed past by a hair's breadth, but the demonic god had vanished from his spot. He moved like a phantom, gliding gracefully amidst the assassin's deadly sword strikes. The thugs chopped wildly, yelling, "This slippery bastard!" The demonic god realized brute force wouldn't work, deciding to switch to movement techniques to find an opening. Seizing the opportunity, he unleashed a devastating punch straight to an assassin's face. The assassin spat blood, taking the full force of the punch and being sent flying backward. The remaining assassin furiously roared, "You bastard!" and swung his leg, kicking directly at the demonic god. The demonic god easily dodged the kick, causing the assassin to lose balance and expose a fatal opening. Without hesitation, he grabbed the assassin who had just been punched, using him as a human weapon to sweep in a circle. The assassin, used as a club, was slammed directly into his comrade. Both spat blood and flew backward. The two assassins lay face down on the ground, completely defeated in just a few moves. The retainer Masak rushed over in a panic, shouting, "Young master, are you all right?" The demonic god turned his back and walked away, coldly replying while the retainer was still bewildered, "I'm perfectly fine, can't you see?" The retainer, astonished, asked where the young master had learned such formidable martial arts. The demonic god nonchalantly replied that it was a street survival skill, then flicked a coin and said, "Your skills are decent too, so." Deputy Leader Ma Jungbo said no more, unleashing a destructive technique with a sky-blazing purple demonic energy, challenging, "Try dodging this one too." Ma Jungbo caught the coin, bewildered, and wondered, "What is this? A coin?" He exuded dark purple demonic energy, ordering his subordinates, "You pathetic lot. Get out of here. I'll handle this." The demonic god, disguised as a masked swordsman, coldly asked, "I merely wish to speak with your leader. Is that so difficult?" Ma Jungbo drew his gleaming great saber, arrogantly retorting, "Our leader isn't someone you can just meet whenever you please." With that, he lunged to attack the demonic god, declaring, "Now get lost." A flash of light gleamed in the night, signaling a fierce clash. Clang! The demonic god blocked the sharp blade with just a pair of chopsticks, leaving Ma Jungbo stunned. "I brought them to use as a substitute for a sword since I didn't have one readily available. They're quite useful, aren't they?" The demonic god explained nonchalantly. Both charged at each other, purple sword energy and blue light from the chopsticks clashing, sparks flying, as an uneven battle began. The demonic god glanced at his opponent, thinking, "Just as expected. They said he uses a martial art no one has ever seen." Ma Jungbo tensed his arm, pouring all his strength into the blade, determined to fight to the death. Swish! The demonic god's chopsticks not only blocked the attack but also slid past, piercing Ma Jungbo's sword hilt, causing blood to gush out. The skill gap was immense. Gah! Ma Jungbo was dazed. Not only did he block my sword with chopsticks, but he also used that moment to counterattack? Wham! The demonic god delivered a devastating punch to his face, making Ma Jungbo roar, "You bastard!" The demonic god deftly dodged his opponent's slash, sneering, "Tisk! Like a rat. If you underestimate chopsticks, you'll end up spitting blood." With that, the demonic god gathered blue light into the chopsticks, forming sharp energy darts. Whoosh! The blue light darts embedded themselves directly into Ma Jungbo's chest, making him scream in pain. Ma Jungbo clutched his blood-soaked chest, utterly bewildered. Didn't they say he couldn't use internal energy anymore? Is this really the Hua Mujin I know? The demonic god thrust the chopsticks forward, his voice icy. "I heard our clan is deeply in debt, so I'm curious to see what kind of people you are." He unleashed a finishing blow enveloped in purple demonic energy. Thud! The chopsticks plunged deeper into Ma Jungbo's abdomen. The demonic god leaned in close, sneering, "With such pathetic skill, you dare to extort others?" This made Ma Jungbo furious, almost spitting blood. Humiliated, Ma Jungbo retreated, assuming a counterattack stance. He roared, "Let me show you the martial art you despise." But the demonic god merely replied nonchalantly, "Huh? When did I ever despise them?" "That's enough." Ma Jungbo poured all his internal energy into his great saber, and dark purple demonic energy erupted violently. He unleashed the secret inherited technique, Twin Kill, Sky-Shattering Moonslash, a colossal, destructive cleave that surged forward. The demonic god looked up, his eyes cold. "The ones playing tricks are you." The massive surge of purple demonic energy crashed down, engulfing his position. Ma Jungbo's jaw dropped in horror as he realized his opponent had dodged his ultimate attack. Suddenly, a fist shot out from behind. The demonic god had circled behind him unnoticed, turning to deliver a devastating punch. So he had been hiding his true strength all this time. Ma Jungbo couldn't react in time and took the full force of the punch, which flared with blue light. He was sent flying, spitting blood profusely, stammering a threat. "You brat, how do you plan to deal with the consequences?" The demonic god casually flipped a coin, his voice full of menace. "I didn't come here to listen to threats. Say what I want to hear, and you'll live longer." Having said that, he clenched his fist. Amidst a swirling vortex of crimson demonic energy, the demonic god bluntly declared, "I need to borrow some more money, all right? Slash." The demonic god held up Ma Jungbo's head, ending the fight mercilessly. He smiled with amusement, and the phantom of the past demonic god appeared. "It's been a long time since I've had this much fun." Suddenly, the scarred attendant grabbed his arm. He worried, "Young master, doing that is very harmful to your body." But the demonic god merely brushed him off, muttering, "What a waste." The lone syndicate leader, prostrate on the ground, was questioned by the demonic god. "Speak. Why would stingy people like you support a clan without collateral?" The demonic god coldly surmised, "I believe there's some sinister plot at play here." The leader hastily denied everything, but the demonic god merely sneered, "Oh, I can clearly hear your brain racking itself from here." Crimson killing intent flared, and the demonic god shook several dice in his hand, his voice full of menace. "Think carefully. After about 30 of these, go down your throat. You won't be able to speak even if you want to." A lantern hanging from the eaves swayed gently in the night. Terrified to his core, the leader confessed everything. It was by order of the Manhwa Merchant Guild. The demonic god smirked. "Is that so? I already had a feeling it was those rats. What was your agreement with them?" The leader stammered, and the demonic god growled, "Hey." He threw several glowing dice onto the table. "You're no Taoist priest or enlightened warrior. If you want to be loyal to your subordinates. Even if you're chopped into 100 pieces today and this place burns down, your masters won't even bat an eye." The leader broke out in a cold sweat, finally willing to speak. "There's a contract." He recounted the plot. "The Changhua Merchant Guild told us to lend the Yomhua clan as much as they wanted at the highest interest rates, to sink them deep into a quagmire of debt." In a flashback, the Changhua Merchant Guild master promised, "If you do that, after the Yomhua clan collapses, we will reward you handsomely, along with their clan's land." The demonic god held the contract, calculated mentally, then sneered. "Oh, so you're still holding the clan's land as collateral? Then, how much will the 300 taels of gold I borrowed today become in a year? 5,000 taels of gold? Hey, what a bunch of clowns." He dropped the paper, blue energy radiating from his hand. The demonic god changed the subject, his gaze sharp. "Where are they?" the leader mumbled. "It's the Little Lawless Sect." The leader further explained. "They are one of the members of the Four Heavenly Alliance, an alliance of evil sects. They are the Little Lawless Sect." Another subordinate interjected. "The Little Lawless Sect? Does the Four Heavenly Alliance have such a sect?" The leader replied, "Yes, I heard they joined recently." The demonic god muttered, "The Four Heavenly Alliance truly is a filthy bunch." The scarred attendant found this strange and worriedly called, "Young master?" The attendant whispered, "When did you meet them to say such absurd things?" The demonic god waved him off. "Don't bother, explaining is too tiring." Meanwhile, the leader began to grow anxious because his subordinate, sent to fetch the money, had not yet returned. Thump. A large chest of money was placed on the table, and the negotiation began. The demonic god coldly declared, "This is 300 taels of gold," leaving the loan shark boss stunned. The boss snatched the pile of gold, a delighted expression on his face. Good. This much is enough." The demonic god turned on his heel, ordering Masak, "Let's go, Masak," while his attendant was still in shock. You really borrowed it?" Outside, rain continued to pour down on the loan shark's headquarters. As the demonic god walked, he ordered the thugs, "So, make sure to record everything carefully in your ledgers today." He issued a light warning. "As soon as your business with your major client, the Changhua Merchant Guild, concludes, I will return to repay all debts." He glanced at the thugs. "And it seems you've been extorting quite a lot from the common folk. Stop that game." Clenching his fist, the demonic god growled, "If you cross the line again, you will surely die," making the boss sweat in fear. The boss could only grit his teeth, resentfully watching the demonic gods retreating back. He muttered with hatred, "Let's see who dies first, you crazy young master of the Yomhua clan." Meanwhile, At the Manhwa clan, a head retainer frantically ran to search. Young master. Seeing a bloodstain on the demonic god's shoulder, the old man panicked. Blood? But he simply replied, not mine. The head retainer and chief steward Du Bakshin questioned, what in the world happened at the loan shark's den? The demonic god explained with the demeanor of a true clan head, we must feed and clothe the warriors of the Manhwa clan well. We cannot let them leave. The head retainer still couldn't believe it. You robbed them? They would never lend money, but the demonic god asserted, I told them to record it carefully before I left. He turned and ordered Chief Steward Do. Chief Steward Do's task is simply to focus on providing food and clothing for my younger siblings. With that, the demonic god strode away proudly, leaving the two old men frozen. Well then, keep up the hard work. The head retainer was so shocked that he knelt to the ground as he watched the young masters retreating back. Chief Steward Do and the head retainer could only look at each other, speechless. Can such madness truly exist in this world? Scratch. A match was struck, lighting a candle in the dark room. In the middle of the clan's ancestral hall, the demonic god waved his hand, extinguishing several candles with an air of authority. He muttered, Since I've never had parents, I don't really know what to say. He turned his back and spoke to the ancestral tablets, also to reassure his two younger siblings standing behind him. From now on, I will take care of you all and this clan. Rest in peace. His two younger siblings anxiously reported, in a few days, you have to fight Cheongdobo, betting even the ancestral secret technique. The demonic god merely smirked, his aura overwhelming. Don't worry. I'll wring the necks of all those bastards. The candles on the altar still flickered faintly in the night. Night fell, enveloping the Manhwa clan's estate. Dawn broke, a new day beginning with insane plans. Early in the morning, the clan warriors had to frantically carry several heavy wooden chests into the courtyard. Masok rushed out in alarm upon seeing the scene. Good heavens, what in the world is the young master making them do? The warriors were breathless, complaining, it was back-breakingly heavy, but it's finally done. Let's go have a few drinks. No sooner had they spoken than the demonic god appeared silently at the door, startling Masok. You're here? He scanned the chests, which had weights carved on them. 50 gun, 80 gun, 110 gun. Are they all here? Masok curiously looked at the greatsword inside. But what do you plan to do with these? The warriors who carried them were already out of breath. The demonic god replied with an obvious truth. What else is a sword used for? To swing, of course. He gripped the sword hilt firmly, starting with the lightest one, 50 gun. Groan! He strained with all his might, but the sword barely budged, almost sending him face first to the ground, much to Masok's astonishment. He sat down on the ground, frustrated. I expected it, but I didn't think this rotten body couldn't even lift a 50-gun sword. But the demonic god was not one to give up easily. He gritted his teeth, gripping the sword hilt with both hands. 1. I cannot fall like this. He tensed all his muscles, trembling violently, finally managing to lift the sword with both hands, while Masok stood beside him, wide-eyed and open-mouthed. He snapped at Masok. Stop staring and do as I say. The demonic god turned and walked away, ordering that only meat dishes be prepared for him from now on, while Masok could only remain silent. Masok stood alone, his face etched with worry for the young master. Inside the room, the demonic god began to swing his sword, preparing to cultivate from scratch. Time waited for no one. Only half a month remained until the day of the life-or-death duel. He realized the problem. This heavenly martial saint body was completely incompatible with the demonic arts his master had taught him. It was truly a defective product. Therefore, the only option left was to learn the solitary 9 swords. The sword art left behind by his master's close friend. He growled, his eyes sharp. This is my only path to survival. Elsewhere, a slender hand gently flicked a branch, showing appreciation. A mysterious musician sat beside a crane, muttering, Hua Mujin wiped out the loan sharks? His subordinate reported that, according to the pigeon's message, they would be bedridden for at least half a month, unable to recover. The musician wondered, that Hua Mujin doesn't even have a Dantian. Where did he get such power? He smirked cunningly. Well, class is permanent. And now, I should prepare a small gift for our great young master Hua. He stroked the instrument strings, his eyes filled with killing intent. I truly look forward to the day of the duel, to see what other faces you're hiding, Hua Mujin. An illusion appeared, showing Hua Mujin being overwhelmed by some evil force, completely helpless. Back in reality, the demonic god was diligently practicing the most basic movements. Each of his footsteps was firm, showing an extraordinary determination. He looked at his reflection on the sword's blade, musing, So this is the heavenly martial saint body. If it's a body bestowed by heaven, it should at least be able to withstand this much. The demonic god opened the item box. Dozens of potions glowed with a sickly green light. His toys were ready. Everything he had asked Masak to prepare was laid out before his eyes. Exhaling, the demonic god growled. Starting now. Thud. He stomped his foot on the floor, initiating his stance. Solitary 9 swords. First stance. Opening stance. I wield my sword and advance at any moment. The sword path was graceful yet powerful, its aura soaring to the heavens. Even Mount Tai would not dare block my way. The sword energy swirled into a perfect circle, making the floor tremble. Sweat began to pour, but he didn't stop. Second stance. Breaking stance. A brilliant blue streak of sword energy swept across the space. No matter what weapon comes at me, I will crush them all. Grit. The demonic god gritted his teeth. This useless body had reached its limit after just a few moves. But I must endure. He channeled strength into his legs, a heavy training orb beside him. Whoosh, whoosh. He continuously unleashed kicks and swung his sword, attacking the orb with both blue sword energy and red energy currents. His entire body soared, creating a dense net of blue sword energy to block counterattacks. Facing the incoming red energy orb, he prepared to unleash a move. Third stance. Heaven-slaying stance. A clean, direct thrust tore through the opponent's energy current. Even if the enemy's energy shakes heaven and earth, this sword will cleave it in two. Drenched in sweat, the demonic god's eyes gleamed with satisfaction after the frantic training session. Crack! Suddenly, a sharp, electric pain shot up his spine. Arg! My back! The demonic god crumpled, clutching his back like an old man, the training orb rolling across the floor. Gritting his teeth, he snatched another orb, roaring. Next! Whoosh! A barrage of bamboo tubes shot out like arrows from a machine, and the demonic god stood still, readying his stance. Swish! He swung his sword, a clean slash sweeping away the incoming bamboo tubes. Fourth stance. Void-shattering stance. This blade is so sharp that no martial art can block it. The simplest slash is the bane of all complex techniques, cleaving them in two in an instant. He snarled bitterly. Ugh. Didn't hit a single one? Thud. The enraged demonic god punched the ground with his bare hands, displaying his helplessness. Whoosh. Whoosh. This time, a barrage of logs as thick as pillars flew towards him. A completely different test. Fifth stance. Army slaughtering stance. Even if an entire army charges in, all will kneel before this blade. Against absolute power, numbers are meaningless. A swarm of ants cannot bring down an elephant. Swish. He swung his sword, brilliant red slashes tearing the logs into hundreds of pieces. Thwack! A log slipped through his guard, hitting the demonic god directly on the head, leaving him dazed. He roared furiously, blood vessels bulging on his face. This damn trick. Next, he roared, facing a row of burning candles. An exercise in precision. Sixth stance. Single slash severing water. This sword path can cleave even a leaf floating on water. The blade carves a path underground. If it can cut through earth, then size is no longer an issue. He wondered in confusion. Why? Why is he still fine? Eighth stance. Sky-shocking stance. This blade can even tear the sky itself. Nothing is impossible. Ninth stance. Self-slaying stance. Finally, having cleaved both oneself and the sword, one lets go. With no reason left to wield a blade, the demonic god opened his eyes, realizing that the sword art he had just comprehended was ultimately just a simulation. He gripped the sword hilt, recalling the final stance. Self-slaying stance, the move to cleave oneself. Memories flooded back. His master asked the young demonic god, "Have you memorized it?" But the boy curtly replied, "Yes, but is this trashy sword art even worthy of being called swordsmanship?" The young demonic god pouted, scoffing at the names of the moves, which sounded childish. Cleaving earth, cleaving sky, cleaving sword, then cleaving oneself? Sounds so cheesy. His master could only sigh, admitting, "I don't deny it, but must my dear friend's legacy end like this? I cannot inherit it, so I want you to take my place." The old man explained that the master of this sword art was the only swordsman who could fight him to a standstill, even without any internal energy. The master believed that person might have used the internal energy transfer technique, and requested that this sword art be passed on to an outsider, as those within the sect could not fully comprehend it. The young demonic god sneered disdainfully. Internal energy transfer technique? That trashy method? Flick. His master flicked the boy's forehead hard, snapping, "Just listen to what I say, shut your mouth," making the boy grudgingly obey. The old man began to explain the sword art's incredible resilience. Swing it 1,000 times, and your body will change. 100,000 times, and you will emit sword energy. 1,000,000 times, and you will be unrivaled under heaven. The young demonic god wondered, so if I practice 1,000 times a day, it'll take 3 years? Is that old man really as strong as master? The young demonic god began to grow curious about the identity of the formidable individual acknowledged by his master. Back in reality, the demonic god was roused by the frantic call of his retainer. Young master! Masak was sitting on top of his young master, worried to tears, but the demonic god coldly warned, hit me one more time and I'll kill you. He sat up, telling himself that if he fainted after just one sword stance, he still had a long way to go, then told his retainer to bring out the food. The demonic god looked at the plate of boiled meat on the meal tray and asked, is this pork? Masak explained that his young master had requested meat, and both began to eat, as it had been a long time since they had a decent meal. Tomorrow, switch to beef, the demonic god ordered, shocking Masak, but he simply explained, beef is better for muscle gain. He declared that they should just spend the money borrowed from the loan sharks, and from now until his duel with Chongdobo, he must eat 3 meat meals every day. Masak stared blankly at the sword marks etched on the training ground, asking his young master, young master, when did you start learning martial arts? Feeling that something was profoundly wrong, Masak still couldn't believe it. Someone who was once half dead suddenly became proficient in swordsmanship. This was too bizarre. The retainer continued to mutter about how his young master had swept away the guards with chopsticks and now wielded a sword like a god. Completely incomprehensible. Huamujin put down his chopsticks and stated succinctly, all right, I've already told the children, so telling you is fine too. He began to tease, the truth is, I am not the eldest young master Huamujin. My true identity is the heavenly demon. But Masak cut him off, threatening to leave if he heard any more nonsense. The demonic god turned serious again, his eyes sharp and cold. I only worry about one thing. He gazed into the distance, his solitary figure appearing before the clan. That one day, I will lose my memories again, transform into someone else, and vanish without a word of farewell. Masak, startled, grabbed his robe and stammered, You aren't planning to abandon the Yomhwa clan, are you? Crack! The demonic god placed his hand on the table, a decisive gesture. He looked straight ahead, declaring firmly, I will never abandon this clan until the Yomhwa becomes the foremost martial arts clan in Sichuan. Masak gaped at the unimaginable goal. The foremost clan in Sichuan? While the demonic god reaffirmed it casually. How ridiculous. Masak hadn't even finished speaking when a finger pointed directly at his face. Flick. A powerful forehead flick left Masak dizzy, a large bump swelling on his head. The demonic god coldly dismissed him. If you're done with your nonsense, then leave. Masak could only meekly assent before scurrying away. Alone in the courtyard, the demonic god tossed the chopstick away, his eyes filled with determination. In his mind, he spoke to Huamujin's soul. Becoming the strongest in Sichuan, that goal is enough for you. Isn't it, Huamujin? The scene shifts. Elsewhere, a hot pot of tea was being poured. An old man wearing glasses was discussing. In 10 days, it will be the decisive duel between Chongdobo and young Master Hua. He took a sip of tea, his eyes full of cunning. That fellow will surely try to kill the young master, and then hell target the Flame Emperor's legacy. A subordinate standing in the shadows proposed a cowardly plan. Perhaps we should just flee before that happens? The old man growled, showing clear disdain. What are you saying? Think carefully. The chief steward growled, determined not to let the clan's 2 remaining children be in danger. But then he could only groan helplessly, sweat pouring down him like rain, unable to do anything. Meanwhile, the demonic god stood in the training grounds, his cold demeanor unfazed by the wind and rain. He muttered, boasting that he had swung his sword every day, so now he was strong enough to wield the heavy iron sword with one hand. However, he still found his swordsmanship loose and unstable. From a distance, the new body's 2 younger siblings watched, secretly thinking their brother was still toiling diligently, even with only a week left until the duel. The demonic god turned, his sharp eyes directly asking, What are you brats doing out here? He shooed them away to play elsewhere because it was dangerous, but the younger sister meekly replied that they were worried about him. She recalled the time she had screamed at her brother, blaming him for their parents' deaths, and now felt extreme regret. Upon hearing this, the demonic god was speechless, seemingly not expecting such a sentimental reason. The sight of these 2 children reminded him of his own children in the past. He gently placed his hands on their heads, reassuring them like an adult. It's all right, don't worry. The younger brother suddenly became excited, clumsily imitating the demonic god's stance and praising his brother for looking as cool as a true martial artist. The demonic god realized the boy was imitating him, while the two siblings found his stance completely different from the original. This scene brought back memories of the past, when his master was meticulously correcting his every movement as a young boy. Memories flooded back with his master's most basic teachings. When swinging the sword, exhale slowly and deeply, do not rush, and when retracting the stance, inhale slowly. He suddenly realized the crux of the problem. The most important aspect of this swordsmanship was the youthful breathing technique his master had taught. Damn it, I almost forgot my master's core teaching. He gripped the sword hilt tightly, his aura completely transformed. The demonic god turned to reassure his two younger siblings with an absolutely confident smile. Don't worry about anything. I will definitely win. With that, he waved his hand, sending them back to their rooms, so he could continue his training before the critical moment. Click. Huamujin's two younger siblings still refused to sleep, secretly pressing their ears against the door to listen in. The younger sister worriedly asked, "Nothing bad will happen, right?" While the younger brother could only force a smile. Probably. Outside, rain began to pour down like a waterfall, signaling a restless night. The demonic god began to reapply the foundational lesson. When swinging the sword, exhale. The longer, the better. Maintain a steady stance, without any haste. And when retracting the sword to its original position, inhale slowly and briefly. He channeled all the internal energy accumulated in his body, unleashing a destructive technique with a surge of crimson demonic energy. Success. The training, wooden stakes vanished in an instant. Sweat poured down, but the demonic god had rediscovered a familiar sensation. What he was practicing was the youthful energy art, a type of internal energy cultivation that builds internal energy through body movements. Unlike other sects that meditated for prestige, the youthful energy art was considered a low-grade martial art because it was extremely difficult to develop meridian channels. That was why it was regarded as trash by the orthodox martial arts world. Rain lashed down on the stone statue in the courtyard, washing everything clean. But to awaken such a low-grade cultivation art, the most crucial element was a stable breathing method, something only the demonic god possessed. No longer struggling as before, his body gradually stabilized with each breath and sword stroke. The demonic god's aura became significantly sharper and more powerful. Golden energy began to gather. After repeating this technique dozens of times, his shattered energy core began to condense once more. Elsewhere, the scheming musician was leisurely picking up food. The musician spoke up, asking, "Is young Master Hua still doing that?" Which made Masak jump. Masak reported to the scheming musician, "Indeed, the young master has completely transformed. He used to collapse frequently, but now there are no signs of that anymore." In a flashback, Masak gloated as he watched the young master writhe in agony during treatment, while the head retainer's face was filled with worry. The head retainer muttered, unable to believe that even the Wudong White Immortals therapy could have such rapid effects after just one session. He ordered Masak, "If anything happens, report to me immediately." The head retainer clicked his tongue, clearly still full of doubt and anxiety. Masak hurriedly ran to call the young master for a meal, unaware that a horrifying sight awaited him. Click. The door opened, and Masak froze in his tracks, seeing the entire room utterly destroyed, while the demonic god stood imposingly amidst the rubble. The demonic god, sweating profusely, coldly uttered a sentence, too cramped, leaving Masak dumbfounded. "I mean, this place is too cramped to continue training," he explained, his expression unchanged. The demonic god hoisted his great saber onto his shoulder and declared firmly, "From now on, I will use the large training ground." The scene shifted to a vast, sun-drenched training ground of the Yomhua clan. A group of clan warriors was training diligently, each of them looking fierce. The demonic god and Masak entered the ground. He glanced at the crowd and announced, "We have guests." Masak, his face slightly pale, relayed the message. "Sirs, the young master says he will be using the large training ground." The warriors immediately stopped abruptly, their faces darkened, showing clear displeasure. Thud. The demonic god thrust his great saber into the ground, his sharp gaze asking, "Did you all hear that clearly?" He declared bluntly, "I need to train alone, so I will borrow the large training ground for a while. There are other grounds nearby. Go use those." A man who looked like a captain craned his neck and retorted, "What the hell is this half-dead corpse saying?" He roared, his murderous aura blazing red. "Just swinging a sword won't make you a warrior, especially when your blade hasn't tasted a single drop of blood." The demonic god merely smirked, completely unfazed. "Well, their gazes are quite challenging." The captain was still grumbling, Even if you are the young master, to suddenly. The retainer, Masak, anxiously called out, "Brother!" while the other warriors stood watching the demonic god confront the captain. A scar-faced old man, Cholboin, the commander of the death squad, stepped forward to intervene. Everyone step back. Let young Master Hua train. The demonic god clicked his tongue and silently walked past. The captain could only glare after him resentfully, muttering, "It seems his madness has returned." Chelboin blocked his path, his voice full of sarcasm. "Hey, you incompetent one, why don't you just stop?" Chelboin growled, his face veins bulging with anger. With a flash, the demonic god appeared right behind him, challenging, "If you have any grievances, say them directly to my face. Only cowards keep things to themselves." Chelboin froze, asking back, "So what do you intend to do?" While the surrounding warriors just watched curiously, the commander of the death squad narrowed his eyes, directly facing the demonic god's great saber. The demonic god declared bluntly, without a hint of hesitation, "We'll just have to fight." The scene shifted to the clan's main residence, a silence before the storm. Chelboin lectured, "Young Master Hua, even if the sky were to fall, no warrior would dare point a sword at the future clan head." The demonic god smirked. "There's a saying, a dog that bites doesn't bark, and a barking dog is full of fear." Chelboin fell silent, gritting his teeth as he listened to the insults. "If you don't dare to step forward, don't bark in the first place," the demonic god added. "Just live like a scared dog with its tail tucked." Provoked to his limit, Chelboin roared, channeling his internal energy into the hilt of his sword. He swung a swirling sword strike, shouting, "Regret is useless now." The demonic god casually raised his sword to block, his expression unchanged. "Well, I'm not the type to feel regret." With just one hand, he blocked Chelboin's great saber. Chelboin broke out in a cold sweat, unable to believe his eyes, while the demonic god merely smirked confidently. The demonic god smirked. "I am not one to know regret." Clang! The captain's great saber was sent flying, while the demonic god's sword was plunged straight into the ground. Before he could recover, the demonic god leapt up and delivered a devastating kick, forcing Chelboin into a defensive stance. He grabbed the captain's head, preparing for a merciless slam. The watching warriors gaped in astonishment. Is he fighting barehanded? What the hell is this? Chelboin swung his sword wildly, but the demonic god dodged lightly like a gust of wind, toying with his opponent like a child's game. Masak, standing afar, could only cover his face, speechless at the unbelievable sight. The captain shouted in exasperation, "Young Master Hua, stop dodging, use your sword and fight." The demonic god looked up and casually replied, "You're right." He retrieved his great saber, his aura completely changed. The true battle had just begun. Chelboin poured all his internal energy, shouting about his 25 years of dedication and blaming young Master Hua for everything. The demonic god simply raised his sword, adopting a defensive stance as solid as a rock. "A good-for-nothing like you dares to lecture me about martial arts?" Chelboin roared and charged forward. The captain gritted his teeth, pouring all his strength into the decisive strike. The demonic god lightly parried with a sword stroke, sending Chelboin flying, and uttered an insult, "Know your place." His eyes flashed with a blue light, and an overbearing aura began to surge forth. 9 solitary swords. Second stance. His great saber shone brightly with sharp sword energy. Stance breaker. The demonic god swung his sword, a perfect slash aimed directly at his opponent. Chelboin was utterly terrified. "What? Even my internal energy is shaken by this technique," the demonic god coldly declared. "Everything you said is true." But the demonic god spat blood, having taken a seemingly heavy blow. Bang! He immediately retaliated with a heaven-shattering punch straight to Chelboin's face, the impact force exploding outwards. For a moment, the image of a bandaged warrior appeared, declaring, "From now on, everything will be different." Chelboin was sent flying backward, unable to believe his eyes. How can this be? His dull gaze had completely changed. The image of the determined young man, heavily bandaged, flashed once again. Crash! Chelboin slammed face first into the ground, utterly defeated by someone he once scorned as a mere novice. The Yomhua clan warriors, including Masok, gaped in astonishment. Did young Master Hua truly win? Chelboin's subordinates frantically rushed to support him, shouting for their boss. Clang! The demonic god stood firm. His great saber plunged right beside him, asserting his status as the victor. He stood with hands on hips, looking down at the defeated, and casually asked, "Does anyone have any complaints now?" A thug among them pointed and yelled, "Coward!" But the demonic god merely retorted calmly, "Cowardly in what way?" As the other man was about to argue further, Chelboin roared, drowning him out. "Silence. making both men fall silent. Supported by his subordinates, Cheolboin bowed his head, blood still oozing from his wounds, admitting, "I concede." The eaves of the martial arts hall appeared under the sunlight, signaling the end of the battle. The demonic god turned his back and walked away, not bothering to glance at the defeated opponent again. Cheolboin unexpectedly cupped his hands in a salute. The demonic god commanded, "Good, withdraw," and received a resolute reply, "As you command." Steward Dubekshin waved his hand, ordering everyone to disperse and move to the adjacent training ground. The crowd of warriors quietly retreated, leaving the demonic god and his retainer Masak alone in the courtyard. The demonic god turned to look directly at Masak, who was frozen in place, and called, "You too, Masak." A panoramic view of the vast Yomhua clan mansion appeared, quiet after the fierce sparring match. The resentful warrior captain yelled, "Even if he's the young master, this is going too far." Another man grabbed the captain, questioning why he held back, but the captain snapped back. "Held back? I was going to beat him half to death." The group of warriors walked away, furtively glancing back. One of them tremblingly asked again, while the captain asserted that he wasn't one to make empty threats. They watched Cheolboin's retreating back as he was helped away, muttering, "It seems our crazy young master has received a heaven-sent fortuitous encounter." The image of the demonic god swinging his saber, internal energy surging, served as proof of the so-called fortuitous encounter that those small fries were gossiping about. Masok stood alone, muttering, "A heaven-sent fortuitous encounter? But where would he get such an opportunity?" The retainer looked up at the sky, clicking his tongue. "Oh well, if the young master has changed, then it's for the best, isn't it?" Night fell. In another room of the mansion, the bearded steward announced, "Tomorrow, we have a decisive duel with the Changhua Merchant Guild." He turned to ask the old elder, "Elder Joe, how many years has it been since we joined this clan?" The elder replied concisely, "Around 37 years, and the steward nodded. "That's quite a long time." The steward reminisced about the past, when Lord Yomje in his youth was truly an unrivaled monster. In his memory, the former clan head Yomje appeared alone, his sky-high fire arts forcing even the arrogant Tang clan to bow their heads and acknowledge his power. The steward recalled their old vow. "Didn't we both swear to dedicate our lives to his glory?" Elder Zhou Huanbong questioned. "Yet now, you intend to break that vow." The bearded steward pondered, his eyes filled with calculation. He walked and justified. "This is not betrayal. We must find a way to preserve his bloodline and legacy." Before the ancestral tablet of his former master, he muttered, 17 years enduring young Master Hua's madness. 17 years protecting the Yomhua clan as it withered alongside him. The two schemers looked at each other, resolute. "Even if we meet Lord Yomje in the underworld, he would not blame us." Elder Joe asked about the preparations. The steward replied, "Nothing much, just some silver to find a new residence, a few warriors, and 4 clan tokens." Elder Joe Huanbong narrowed his eyes and commanded, "Proceed." Elder Joe Huanbong muttered about the plan, using the excuse of needing someone to handle the aftermath and preserve the bloodline to cover up their escape plot. He revealed that a master hired by the Cheonghua Merchant Guild would be present as a witness, legitimizing their plunder. The steward was furious that they brazenly turned an act of robbery into an official event. The elder, bitter, cursed the Cheonghua Merchant Guild as a nest of vipers, determined to burn the Yomhua clan to its roots. Zhou Huanbong ordered his subordinates to the rendezvous point, glancing at the 2 sleeping children and thinking they were about to face a great shock. Dawn broke, signaling the arrival of the decisive life-or-death duel. Masak complained while eating that the meat was as tough as leather, to which Zheng Chon calmly replied that cheap meat was all they could expect. Masak frantically asked if the clan had run out of money, taking the opportunity to blame the stingy chief steward Do Baekshun. Zheng Chon asked Masak if he was sulking. The retainer vehemently denied it, then retorted about getting beaten up the other day. Zheng Chun stood up in his brand new, incredibly cool martial attire, looking like a true master, and asked Masak how he looked. Masak deadpanned, "Honestly, you looked more handsome when you were bandaged." Zheng Chun, stone-faced, ordered, "Let's go," ignoring the still bewildered retainer. He hoisted his massive great saber onto his shoulder, an overwhelming aura rising from him, ready for the upcoming battle. The steward unexpectedly appeared, blocking his path, and asked Zheng Chun if he truly intended to go. Zheng Chun glared at him, sparks flying. "You're not here to babble about running away, are you?" The steward quickly denied it, and Zheng Chun declared bluntly, "Then wait here, I'll be back after crushing those thieves and bandits." Surprisingly, the steward cupped his hands and firmly stated, "I will accompany you." Zheng Chun remained silent, looking at the steward with a scrutinizing gaze. Unsure of what the man was plotting, he thought to himself, "This old man is worrying needlessly. After all, I'm the one going to clean up that mess." The clan's grand gates swung wide open, dazzling light pouring in. The stage for the display of power was set. Zhang Chan held his head high, his overwhelming aura speaking volumes. "Let's go." Zhang Chan led the steward and Masak, heading straight for the arena as if taking a stroll. A scribe announced that betting for the death match between the Qianghua Merchant Guild and the Yomhua clan had officially opened. The vast arena was packed with people, the crowd buzzing with anticipation, ready to wager their money. A betting broker explained the odds, stating that the chances of winning were not high, and getting half the money back was already a good deal. People discussed, suggesting that if one were a martial artist, they should bet on the Yomhua clan. One man decided to go all in with 2 silver coins on the Yomhua young master. The crowd suddenly cheered as Huagong, the young master of the Yomhua clan, appeared, a young man who looked more like a scholar than a warrior. Whoosh! A dark figure flashed past like lightning, cutting through everyone's attention. Zhang Chon had arrived, exuding an extremely relaxed demeanor, strolling along while savoring a candied hawthorn skewer, as if nothing was amiss. The man who had just bet on the Yomhua young master broke out in a cold sweat at this sight, stammering, "Can I cancel my bet?" An old man accompanying him teased Zhang Chon. Drinking so much before a match is a bit much, but he merely replied casually, "See, I told you I wouldn't be late." Bu Choyun, the master of the Qianghua Merchant Guild, emerged under a red umbrella, her voice sweetly feigned, "Long time no see." She folded her umbrella, feigning righteousness. "For the sake of our kinship, I ask one last time, must we truly fight?" The crowd began to murmur, firmly believing that the Yomhua clan had recklessly instigated this match. Truly, a bunch of madmen. Zhang Chun smirked, thinking, "Oh, so they want to play the blame game? Then don't blame me for returning the favor properly." A red-haired figure with fiery eyes appeared in his consciousness, growling, "We cannot let the Qianghua Merchant Guild steal our secret techniques, so we must fight." The people were utterly bewildered, unable to understand which side was truly the instigator, their minds completely twisted. Bu Choyun's gaze was sharp and provocative, wondering how long Chong Chun's composure would last. A torch was lit, signaling the official start of the life-or-death duel. Zhang Chun's opponent stood in the center of the arena, clenching his fists, gathering his strength, awaiting the impending beatdown. The referee for the match was announced, Hanik Gang of the Kongdong faction, a prominent and influential figure, and of course the instigator could not be absent, Chiang Dobo, the heir of the Qianghua Merchant Guild. The referee declared that the match must proceed fairly and honorably, witnessed by all. Chiang Dobo began to taunt. "It seems you've received the item we sent, haven't you?" He continued to mock Zhang Qian's martial attire, claiming he had graciously sent it as a gift for Wamujin's glorious return. Zhang Qian simply replied curtly, "Oh, is that so?" His hand already gripping the hilt of his saber. Not bothering to argue, he hoisted the great saber onto his shoulder with feather-light ease, adding a warning, "When the match ends, you will return what remains." The audience began to whisper, "The Yomhua clan head is a swordsman? Who could possibly wield such a massive saber?" They still couldn't believe their eyes, thinking that the Yomhua clan specialized in unarmed combat techniques. In another corner, the accompanying old man asked Masak if the young master had given any instructions, but the retainer could only stammer. Masak stammered, confessing he had advised the young master to flee, only to have the old man pinch his ear and immediately force him to change his stance, asserting absolute trust in the young master. The old man mumbled that the young master had changed, while Masak frantically wondered if madness was contagious. The match official roared, asking if both sides were ready. Zhang Chun's eyes were half closed, his composure terrifyingly calm, completely ready. Chong Dobo smirked, still confident in his own abilities. Boom! The gong resounded, and the death match officially began. Zhang Chun charged forward, his speed unbelievable for someone wielding such a cumbersome weapon, catching Chong Dobo by surprise. Chong Dobo's face changed color. He hastily raised his sword to block the strike in the nick of time. Clang! The two weapons clashed, sparks flying, the terrifying power from Zhang Chun's chop completely overwhelming his opponent. The entire audience, including Masak and the old man, gasped. So fast! The crowd murmured in disbelief at the power of Zhang Chun, whom they had thought to be a useless madman. Cheong Dobo gritted his teeth, resentful at being pushed back by someone he disdained. "Just a childish trick from a brat," Cheong Dobo roared, swinging his sword and lunging forward. He unleashed a series of consecutive slashes, sharp sword energy enveloping Jiang Chon. Cheong Dobo's sword energy converged, forming a brilliant golden stream of power aimed directly at his opponent. The two swords clashed again, creating a terrifying shockwave across the arena floor. A small scratch appeared on Jiang Chon's cheek, but his face remained as cold as ice, utterly expressionless. Clang! An energy explosion erupted as Cheong Dobo poured all his strength into the attack. Both glared at each other, comparing their strength right at the point where their weapons clashed. The entire audience, including Masok and the accompanying old man, could only gape at the unbelievable sight. Bu Choyun, the master of the Chonghua Merchant Guild, also exclaimed in surprise, "How interesting that Hua Mujin can defend so well." She closed her ledger, concluding that the martial arts Cheong Dobo had painstakingly cultivated for years were utterly useless against his opponent. Cheong Dobo furiously swung another powerful slash. Whoosh! Jiang Chon effortlessly blocked the attack with the broadside of his massive saber, as easy as pie. With a slight push, Cheong Dobo was sent flying backward, completely losing his balance. Jiang Chon raised his great saber high, preparing to end the match with a single strike. Thud! The saber blade struck the ground, creating a massive crack. Cheong Dobo barely managed to roll away and dodge the blow in the nick of time. Jiang Chon glanced over, showing annoyance that his opponent was still alive. Cheong Dobo's eyes turned blue. He growled, "Hua Mujin, this time I will cripple you." Jiang Chon assumed his stance, coldly thinking, the best way to crush someone's will. Jiang Chon growled, his eyes blazing with murderous intent. "It's what I do best." Whoosh! Cheong Dobo unleashed his full azure sword energy. But Cheong Chon's crimson demonic aura erupted even more fiercely, directly confronting it. Overwhelmed by the power, Cheong Dobo was flung away, looking no different from a discarded toy. In the stands, Masok gaped in astonishment. "I thought young Master Hua would be defeated instantly, but who knew he could hold on so well?" The steward standing nearby had a serious expression. "He's not just holding on. Perhaps the young master hasn't even used his full strength. I secretly watched him train." Masok remained unconvinced, but the steward asserted that the young master was concealing a far more terrifying power. On the arena floor, Cheong Dobo was drenched in sweat, knowing he was completely outmatched. Within his mind, two opposing powers, one righteous and one evil, one blue and one red, roared, demanding to tear each other apart. Jiang Chon growled, a dark crimson demonic aura rising from his body. With this strike, Cheong Dobo was no pushover either. He poured all his internal energy into his sword, a blue aura enveloping him, preparing for his final strike. Two pairs of eyes met, one blazing with murderous crimson, the other filled with furious azure, determined for a fight to the death. Both roared, vowing to kill him, then charged at each other in a decisive attack. Meanwhile, in a secluded location 5 kilometers to the east, a dark scheme was being put into motion. Elder Zhou Huanbong strode along a secret path, heading towards the rendezvous point. He stopped before a waiting carriage, preparing for his escape from the clan. Zhou Huanbong sighed in relief, wiping sweat. Phew, finally here. Inside the carriage, Hua Mujin's 2 younger siblings were fast asleep, and the elder muttered, "Luckily, they're both asleep. Much easier to take away." Night fell upon an ancient manor, where the secret meeting of the traders took place. The steward, who had just praised the young master, now stood before Zhou Huanbong, asking, "Are you truly not coming with me?" Zhou Huanbong gave a sinister, meaningful smile. After all, he is that person's flesh and blood. Someone has to pick up the pieces. I will personally see young Master Hua off on his final journey. The steward said to old Zhou Huanbong, "Then we'll go ahead. See you at the agreed-upon location." After parting ways, the steward sighed, his heart filled with doubt. I wonder if this is the right thing to do. Meanwhile, in the arena, the battle between the demonic god and Cheong Dobo reached its climax. Crimson and azure sword energies clashing fiercely. Despite being praised as excellent for his age, Cheong Dobo was still an amateur compared to the demonic god's combat experience. The Yomhua clan warriors whispered amongst themselves, unable to comprehend how young Master Hua, who was considered a good-for-nothing, could overwhelm his opponent. Another spectator remarked, "I heard that the second young master is an outer disciple of the Kongdong sect, but it seems that's all there is to it." Cheong Dobo gritted his teeth bitterly, sweat pouring down as he was cornered. He screamed miserably as he was sent flying backward by a heaven-shattering blow from the demonic god. Masok and the old companion cried out in alarm, while Bu Choyun could only bite her lip in worry. "Young Master Hua, dodge it!" The demonic god unleashed his technique. Peerless 9 swords. First form. Vanguard strike. Whoosh! He lunged forward with terrifying speed, his great saber slashing directly at his opponent. The Manhwa clan warriors gaped, their eyes wide and mouths agape at the unbelievable sight. Clang! The demonic god effortlessly blocked Cheongdobo's attack. Cheongdobo strained, trying to push back the great saber, but it was futile. Crack! Cheongdobo's sword shattered into pieces. He could only stare blankly as his weapon was destroyed. The demonic god sneered, his eyes filled with disdain for the defeated opponent. Cheongdobo roared in resentment. You crazy bastard. Unwilling to concede, Cheongdobo channeled all his internal energy, and an azure sword aura erupted fiercely around his broken sword. From above, the old companion and Hanik Gang's subordinate tensely realized. Young Master Cheong is pouring in all his internal energy. Hanik Gang, Bu Choyan, and the old companion all shared the same thought, while Masok's face turned pale. That must be his finishing blow. The demonic god openly scoffed. Too slow. Even your internal energy circulation is as slow as a turtle. Cheongdobo gnashed his teeth, his face contorted with rage as he exerted all his strength. He roared the name of his final technique, Peerless 9 Swords, second form, Weapon Shatter. The azure sword energy exploded, hurtling straight towards the demonic god in an all-out attack. Cheongdobo couldn't believe his eyes, stammering, I am completely helpless against his attack. The demonic god merely raised his bare hand, effortlessly blocking his opponent's broken blade with a bored expression. Cheongdobo screamed in despair. How could I lose to a good-for-nothing without any internal energy? Clang! The last fragment of the sword also shattered before absolute power. The demonic god's eyes glowed crimson. He swung a dark red demonic energy slash, ending the match. Cheongdobo froze, unable to react to the terrifying slash. A colossal wave of demonic energy swept through, completely overwhelming the young master. A pillar of black and red energy engulfed Cheongdobo, destructive power erupting. Cheongdobo's entire body was sent flying like a puppet with severed strings. His arm was severed, flying off and plunging into the arena floor. Buchoyan shrieked in horror. Dobo. The old companion and Masok gasped, their faces pale from profound shock. Amidst the dust and smoke, Masok unconsciously stammered. Young Master Hua won? The demonic god coldly walked over and picked up Cheongdobo's bloodied arm. He declared mercilessly, I will take this arm to repay a 17-year-old grudge. Bu Choyan froze, her face turning ashen with horror. You, what did you just say? The demonic god sneered, still holding the bloody trophy. You Chonghua Syndicate surely have a way to reattach this arm, don't you? With that, he casually tossed the arm to the ground like a discarded rag. Han Ik Gang of the Gongdong faction appeared, his face hardening at the sight. Cheongdobo lay slumped, clutching his chest as his Dantian shattered into pieces. Bu Choyan froze, stunned, upon hearing that her subordinate's Dantian was crippled. Han Ik Gang questioned, was there a need for such brutality? But the demonic god merely smirked. What nonsense are you spouting? The referee believed the match had been decided long ago, but the demonic god retorted, declaring that if they were to speak of reason, he had much to say himself. Bu Choyan roared, her eyes blazing with hatred, bringing up the past. Then was it necessary to use the 7 wounds fist on a 5-year-old child who knew no martial arts? The demonic god responded with a sharp declaration of war, his eyes sparking. This is merely the conclusion of a 17-year-old vendetta, and from now on, you will pay for provoking the Manhwa clan. He turned and walked away, leaving a chilling warning for the referee. Be thoroughly prepared. Hearing the declaration of war, Bu Choyan collapsed, utterly broken. She gritted her teeth, clenching her fists so tightly that her fingernails dug deep into her flesh. Amidst her blazing hatred, she shrieked Hua Mujin's name, vowing never to forget this humiliation. The surrounding spectators gaped, unable to believe the destruction they had just witnessed. All were silenced, completely shocked by the overwhelming power. The crowd began to murmur, unable to believe that an outer disciple of the Gongdong faction had been crushed by an unseen sword art. Masok and the old steward rushed to their young master's side, stammering his name in utter astonishment, while the crowd cheered for the birth of a new master. Amidst the chaos, the demonic god merely slung his greatsword onto his shoulder and coldly ordered, "Let's go home," leaving the old steward dumbfounded. Watching the young master's steady back as he walked, the old steward wondered, since when did young master Hua's back become so broad? The demonic god suddenly called out, "Chief Steward Do," making the old man jump and respond in confusion. Chief Steward Do Bakshin broke out in a cold sweat, his heart pounding as he was called back. Damn it, could he know I was planning to flee? The demonic god sneered, asking directly about another matter. The gold I gave you. Have you spent it all already? The old steward hastily waved his hands, denying it vehemently, while the demonic god muttered that he might have to visit the loan sharks for more money. The old steward quickly called out, "Ah, there's one more thing." The demonic god casually replied to the question about Elder Joe and the other warriors. "If they want to leave the clan, let them. I don't care." The old steward froze, stunned, upon hearing the next part of the warning. The demonic god turned back, radiating intense killing intent. "But if they dare to separate me from my two younger siblings, they'd better prepare their coffins." The scene shifts to another place, where the sky is clear blue and the sun shines brightly. Hua Mujin's two younger siblings were clinging to a muscular man, whining, "Today is Big Brother's duel, so why are you doing this? We won't forgive you this time." As the man was getting a headache from the two children, the younger sister discovered something. A secret letter reported, "Young Master Hua has fled to Chonghua. Return immediately." The man knew he was in deep trouble. Returning to the demonic god, he mused, "Speaking of money, perhaps I should host a debt-settling feast first." The old steward asked again, bewildered, and the demonic god went straight to the point. "I'm talking about those scoundrels at Banghobang. Shouldn't we deal with them soon?" The old steward was startled, realizing the young master had completely changed, but still tried to dissuade him. But the demonic god brushed him off. "Why are you so talkative? Just go inside first." The old steward could only advise, "Then I beg you, absolutely do not get involved with the social sect." The demonic god slammed the door shut, leaving the helpless old steward standing outside. Masuk asked worriedly, "Young master, are you really going to Banghobang like this?" The demonic god replied curtly, "Yes, troublesome matters shouldn't be prolonged." The demonic god suddenly turned to Masuk and said, "From now on, stick close behind your big brother. Understand?" The retainer was bewildered. Big brother? Both headed straight to the lair of the Banghobang loan sharks. The leader of the loan shark syndicate stepped out, smirking. "Oh, you've arrived? I truly didn't expect to see you again." The demonic god faced the loan syndicate leader, declaring bluntly, "I've come to collect a debt." He delivered a fatal taunt. "By the way, it's so deserted here. Have you gone bankrupt?" The leader hastily explained that all the gamblers had flocked to watch his life and death match. The demonic god concluded, "So, you opened a betting pool for my match, didn't you?" leaving the man speechless. All the thugs were scared witless, bowing low. "We have been disrespectful." While the demonic god calculated the money they had earned, the leader broke out in a cold sweat, admitting it, and began to sense an ominous sign. He tried to cover up, claiming he intended to express gratitude, but the demonic god merely smirked and asked a sarcastic question in return. After the preamble, the demonic god got straight to the point, sitting in the main seat as if it were his own home. The killing intent of a true master emanated thickly, a stark contrast to his previous demeanor. The leader trembled, asking, "Sir, what do you want with our boss?" The demonic god slammed his hand on the table, his voice icy. "I don't like asking a second time." The door burst open, and Banghobang's final boss, Che On-gil, a bald, corpulent man, finally revealed himself. Che On-gil arrogantly asked, "Who are you to act so high and mighty here, just because you have a handsome face?" The boss pointed towards the shadow filled with demonic energy behind the demonic god. But a surge of dark power swept through the room. Dongsal Hyukjo of the Sosal sect appeared, surrounded by purple demonic energy, sneering. "So, you're the one targeting my money?" The demonic god cast a disdainful glance. "Adults are speaking. Do you dare to interrupt? Do you wish to die?" Dongsal Hyukjo merely let out a savage laugh, kick. He furiously charged to attack, roaring, "Try and kill me." Masak, from behind, could only scream in despair. "Young master." The demonic god held a pair of chopsticks, and crimson demonic energy flared. "Whether it's the Sosal sect or whatever else, obstruct me and you die." Thwack! Without a word, the red-haired man was pierced by a red beam of light before he could even understand what was happening. The demonic god flicked his finger, shooting out a red energy blast like a bullet straight at the clown-faced Dongsal Hyukjo. Dongsal Hyukjo looked at his hand, a hole pierced through it with blood gushing out, and sneered. "I thought you were just a kid, but you're no ordinary one." The clown-faced man channeled his energy to heal his wound, showing a challenging expression. "Piercing my hand with chopsticks. You're an interesting kid." But the demonic god simply replied curtly, "I don't want to hear praise from a brat." Provoked, Dongsal Hyukjo furiously unleashed purple demonic energy, yelling, "Stop playing games." Boom! The clown-faced man stomped his foot on the ground, creating an explosion of deep purple energy. But the demonic god had vanished, appearing behind him at some unknown moment. "Where are you looking?" making the clown-faced man jump in shock. Wham! A devastating kick from the demonic god sent Dongsal Hukjo flying. The clown-faced man couldn't believe his attack was dodged so easily, while the demonic god merely curled his lip in a sneer. "Let's make another hole," the demonic god said, then used his glowing red chopsticks to stab straight into the clown-faced man's mouth. Splat! The sound of piercing echoed, accompanied by splattering blood. Masak and the leader of the Lone Shark Syndicate could only gape, their faces drained of all color. Dongsal Hukjo knelt slumped on the floor, blood gushing from his throat, as the demonic god stood above him, taunting, "How is it? Does the wind feel cool blowing through?" The clown-faced man struggled to get up, threatening, "If you touch me, the Sosal sect brothers will retaliate." But the demonic god merely replied indifferently, "Oh, is that so?" While Dongsal Hukjo was still rambling threats that his family and subordinates would not be spared, the demonic god delivered a finishing kick, crushing his head. "The Sosal sect? Tell them to come here if they dare," the demonic god said coldly to the dying corpse. "But first, you must die." Thinking he was surely dead, the clown-faced man suddenly begged for mercy, willing to offer all his wealth and concubines to spare his life, making the demonic god burst out laughing. "Oh, so you suddenly want to live? I don't need your concubines," the demonic god said, stepping on the pool of blood. "But the matter of wealth sounds appealing." Dongsal Hukjo, his face covered in blood, yelled, swearing to bring back all the wealth from Deokchang, while the demonic god merely curled his lip. "Good attitude. If you don't return, then..." The demonic god radiated a crimson killing intent, coldly issuing a warning. "From now on, you'll breathe through your eye sockets." The clown-faced man was scared out of his wits, repeated his vow, then ran off headlong and disappeared. Done with the small fry, the demonic god turned to his main target, his eyes sharp. "Now then, shall we begin settling debts?" The final boss of the Banghobang, Cheonjol, hastily prostrated himself, begging for his life. The fat man yelled in despair, promising to offer all the wealth he possessed. The demonic god merely replied with disdain, demonic energy surging. "What are you saying? Your wealth was already mine to begin with." He meticulously itemized each blood debt, from the money extorted from the common people to the price of their lives, asserting that the fat man's entire fortune wouldn't be enough to pay. As soon as he finished speaking, a gaping hole appeared in the middle of Cheongel's forehead, and the demonic god, exasperated, said, "Do you truly not understand?" The fat boss collapsed into a pool of blood, and the demonic god looked down at the corpse. "Why do you keep trying to give me what's already mine?" The deputy leader standing nearby froze, sweat pouring down him like rain, unable to utter a word. The demonic god turned to him and asked, "Who's the next highest-ranking person after this boss?" Making the deputy leader stammeringly claim the position himself. Without a moment's hesitation, the deputy leader immediately prostrated himself, begging for his life and promising to live righteously from then on. The demonic god sat down at the table with an air of authority, unexpectedly agreeing. "Very well, I will let you live." Immediately, he got straight to business. "So, how much is the wealth of that recently deceased fellow worth?" The deputy leader obediently reported that the Banghobang's value was up to 10,000 taels of gold, plus 500 taels in tribute money for the Sosal sect. The demonic god calculated fairly on paper, total assets, tribute money, plus a self-imposed mental damage compensation, settling the deal at 20,000 taels of gold. The deputy leader nodded profusely in agreement, promising to complete the paperwork and deliver the gold immediately, to which the demonic god nodded, agreeing to handle it on the spot. Just as the man thought he had escaped danger, the demonic god rested his chin on his hand, flashing a deadly smile. "Now then, shall we negotiate the price for the remaining lives?" The demonic god coldly declared to the remaining Banghobang thugs, "I said I'd spare him, not all of you, did I?" The small fry yelled in despair, "Please spare our lives." Steward Do Baekshun screamed in terror upon seeing the scene before his eyes. The demonic god and Masak returned, standing before a mountain of piled gold, and the steward gaped. "What is this?" The demonic god casually replied, "The debt collection party is over. Let's go home." The demonic god sneered, announcing that each barrel contained 400 taels of pure gold. Masak was stunned speechless by the glittering treasure trove, stammering, "Young master," Steward Du Baekshun frantically warned about the Sosal sect, which backed the Banghobang, but the demonic god remained unfazed. "So what? Why should I care?" Du Baekshun broke out in a cold sweat, revealing that the Sosal sect's collaborator was none other than Jusu Gang's Crimson Sword Gate, a notorious power. The demonic god merely curled his lip and asked again, Is that Dongsal Hyukjo, the guy with 10 pitch-black fingers? The steward was utterly shocked. You've already met him? The demonic god replied curtly, Yes, I just stabbed chopsticks into his eyes. The demonic god asserted his superiority, telling the steward directly that those small fry might be a problem for him, but not for the demonic god. If annoying bugs gather, just kill them all, and it's done. With that said, he ordered tender beef prepared for the meal and to take good care of his younger siblings when they returned. The demonic god patted the petrified steward on the shoulder, then declared he would go inside first. Steward Dubakshin stood rooted to the spot, his mind in turmoil, unable to believe his young master considered a notorious expert like Dongsal Hukjo to be mere bugs. In a dark room, a noblewoman was plotting, asserting that the Yeomhwa clan was planning a surprise attack. A mysterious superior looked down at the battle map, scoffing at his subordinates who only cared about money after seeing the merchant guild leader utterly shocked in the recent battle. The red-haired woman ordered cruelly, As discussed, just bring one child back alive. Killing the rest is fine. A voice from the shadows echoed, obeying and promising to complete the mission before sunrise. The woman crushed a chess piece bearing the name Hua Mujin, her eyes burning with hatred. Hua Mujin, I will tear apart everything you cherish right before your eyes. Recalling the golden age of the Yeomhwa clan, a renowned power depicted with grand strokes. Under the command of Yeomje, a living legend, countless masters gathered. Even the Tang clan held them in high regard. In just one generation, the Yeomhwa clan became a force that no one in the martial world dared to underestimate. Wherever the Yeomhwa warriors went, the common people cheered, their reputation echoing far and wide. But after Yeomje's death, the succeeding clan head was an incompetent fool, drawing laughter from all under heaven. The Yeomhwa clan gradually withered, and those who had sworn loyalty turned their backs one by one, scattering like rats. Back in the present, the demonic god coldly stepped on an assassin's arm, growling, You've only lost an arm, how long will you whine? The assassin leader glared. It was that woman from the Cheonghua Merchant Guild who sent you, wasn't it? Standing amidst a pile of corpses, the demonic god pointed his great saber at the surviving leader. Answer properly, and I might let you live. The leader rejoiced as if head found gold, stammering a question, but the demonic god simply replied, Don't make me repeat myself. I can wipe you all out, starting with you. The assassin was scared witless, revealing that the mastermind was Bu Choyun, the Cheonghua Merchant Guild master, who had hired them through Sarimbang. The demonic god turned and walked away, ordering, If you don't want to die, then go back and report to that woman how Hua Mujin of the Yeomhwa clan massacred her people, and from now on, he will come to take all their lives. Meanwhile, at the clan, Chief Steward Do Baekshin lit a candle, reminiscing about Yeomja, who once shook the entire world. To the righteous factions, he was a great hero. To his enemies, he was an absolutely overwhelming Grand Master, a legend of his era. The chief steward couldn't understand why he saw the shadow of the great Yeomje of yesteryear in the young master Hua Mujin's back. Suddenly, a subordinate's frantic cry interrupted his thoughts. Chief steward, chief steward. Two retainers stumbled in, looking battered as if they had just been through a battle. The chief steward panicked. Why only you? Where are the young master and young mistress? A retainer screamed in panic. Assassins sent by the Cheonghua Merchant Guild ambushed us. The chief steward was stunned by the grim news. Elder Joe and the warriors are holding on, but there are dozens of them. The young master and young mistress are in danger. Chief steward, Du Baekshin growled an order. Inform young master Hua immediately. I'll go ahead. Then he dashed off with terrifying speed. In the bamboo forest, a fierce battle raged between the Yeomhwa clan warriors and the assassins under the blood moon. The burly assassin leader grabbed a child by the neck, sneering at Elder Joe Huanbong. Looks like you're all alone, aren't you? I won't kill everyone, so think carefully. He continued to provoke. Just one foolish move from you, and these brats will all be wiped out, making Elder Joe Huanbong roar in fury. You bastards. Unable to endure any longer, Elder Joe Huanbong swung his sword, creating a slash that swept away all the surrounding assassins. An assassin lunged forward with razor-sharp claws, but the old man was ready to meet the challenge. Elder Joe Huanbong unleashed a defensive technique, creating a geometric barrier that blocked the enemy's attack. Unexpectedly, an old man wielding a fan appeared, his aura domineering, coldly ordering, "Step back." The assassins roared. Another one appeared. "Kill him!" Then the whole group charged at the fan-wielding man. The fan-wielding man merely swung his fan lightly, easily blocking all the sword strikes from the small fry. An assassin muttered, "I can't believe they sent an old man with one foot in the grave." But before he could finish, The old man's fan sliced him apart. The fan-wielding old man unleashed a move, and the assassin was vertically bisected, blood splattering everywhere. Elder Zhou Huanbong cried out in horror, warning, "Be careful." The clawed assassin intended to ambush from behind, but the fan-wielding man had noticed him long ago. Swish! A lightning-fast fan strike, and the assassin's head was severed from his neck. The fan-wielding man landed coldly, surrounded by the corpses of the henchmen he had just dealt with. The fan-wielding man faced Elder Zhou Huanbong, his fan radiating deadly killing intent. The original assassin leader ordered the fan-wielding man, "Leave this side to us. Keep one child, kill the rest." The fan-wielding man charged forward, declaring simply, "Die." A devastating punch landed on Elder Zhou Huanbong's face, making him spit blood, completely outmatched. A deadly streak of light flashed, signaling that the end had come. Elder Zhou Huanbong screamed in agony as he took a fatal slash to the chest. The fan-wielding man looked at the children like prey, calmly considering, "Now, which one should I kill, and which one should I capture?" Young Huadojin showed no fear, his eyes burning with a defiant gaze that made the assassin raise an eyebrow. The fan-wielding man swung his weapon, deciding to deal with the stubborn brat immediately. "You want that, huh? Then you'll die first." Clang! A blue energy barrier suddenly appeared, blocking the attack just in the nick of time. Both the assassin and the children were stunned by the unexpected intervention. The demonic god, in Hua Mujin's body, had appeared, towering like a fortress wall, shielding the children. The fan-wielding man's face paled as he recognized the newcomer as the frenzied demon Hua Mujin, while behind the demonic god lay a pile of defeated assassins. The remaining assassins still didn't know their place, and their leader ordered, "If he gets in the way, kill him too." The demonic god moved like a phantom, gracefully dodging attacks and delivering a face-kicking blow to an assassin. He glanced at the small fry with icy eyes, ready for a cleanup. A foolish assassin slashed forward, his sword shattering into pieces upon contact with the demonic god. It turned out the demonic god had merely pinched it with 2 fingers, his internal energy easily crushing the sword like a toy. Before the assassin could even comprehend what was happening, a red streak flashed across his face. The demonic god spun, unleashing an invisible sword strike, sweeping away everything around him in a single rotation. Another assassin froze in terror. Seeing his comrade's head about to fly off, he screamed, "What the hell is this?" The burly leader panicked, roaring an order for all his subordinates to charge. "Everyone attack, kill him." The entire swarm of assassins rushed into the fire like moths, simultaneously leaping towards the demonic god from all directions. The demonic god unleashed the solitary 9 swords, 5th form, a storm of blazing red sword energy, tearing apart all enemies in the blink of an eye. The surviving assassin froze in horror as he watched his comrade torn apart, blood splattering everywhere. Another fool screamed, rushing to attack the demonic god who lay on the ground, a final suicidal attempt. The demonic god merely sneered, disdainfully dismissing the enemy's pathetic effort. Without bothering to stand, he swiftly swung his sword, decapitating the assassin in an instant. The last survivor trembled, backing away and stammering, calling the demonic god a monster. No sooner had he spoken than the demonic god materialized behind him, swinging his sword to finish off the last insignificant foe. Amidst the corpse-strewn battlefield, the demonic god coldly warned, "If you wish to live, do not move." His face smeared with enemy blood, his crimson eyes gleamed with a deadly light, his sword still dripping fresh blood. Little Hua Soyeon peeked through her fingers, bewildered by the scene before her. Recognizing the familiar figure, the little girl stammered, "Big brother?" Hua Dojin quickly covered his sister's eyes, snapping, "Don't look." "Why?" you ask. The boy tried to sound calm. "Big brother is here, right? Has already dealt with all the bad guys, hasn't he?" "Yes, that's exactly why I told you not to look." The demonic god walked towards the 2 trembling children, asking curtly, "Are you all right?" Hua Dojin puffed out his chest, trying to appear tough. "I'm not scared at all. Because I'm from a martial family." The demonic god unexpectedly placed a hand on the boy's head, startling him. With a rare smile, he acknowledged the boy's bravery. "You did well." The demonic god turned and ordered Chilboin, "Take the injured and my siblings back." And the commander of the death squad obediently complied. After the group departed, the demonic god stood alone under the moonlight, muttering, "Now then." In a neighborhood, a few townspeople whispered, as they saw a blood-soaked figure approaching, "Hey, look, is that blood? Who is that?" The demonic god slowly walked on, leaving a trail of blood on the street, and the crowd recognized him. Who else could it be? It's that madman from the Yomwa clan. His madness seems to have worsened. Now, the common folk who saw the demonic god dragging himself through the street, covered in blood, were silent as clams, not daring to utter a single word. The crowd murmured, unable to believe he had single-handedly wiped out the Bonghobong thugs and even crippled the second young master of the Cheonghua Merchant Guild. From a despised madman, Hua Mujin was now called the Sleeping Dragon of the West District, a martial arts genius reborn. The demonic god arrived home, gently knocking on the door. He stepped inside, his appearance weary but full of imposing presence. Masok rushed out like a whirlwind, joyfully shouting, "Young master has returned!" The demonic god brushed aside Masok's concern, getting straight to the point. "Is everyone at the medical hall?" Masok confirmed that no one in the clan was unharmed, and that he had taken his two siblings to the medical hall to calm their spirits. The demonic god ordered succinctly, "Very good, prepare bathwater for me, Masok." At a magnificent building of the Yomhua clan under the tranquil night sky, the demonic god soaked in the hot bath, washing away the stench of blood and his fatigue. He recalled Masok's words about comforting his two siblings' minds and bodies, a concept alien to someone like him. The demonic god muttered that he did not want the two children to witness this brutal and ruthless martial world. He gazed at the spirit pill in his hand, wondering if he was seeing their reflections within it. The spirit pill reflected the image of the demonic god's lost family from the past, a painful memory. His eyes turned icy cold as old pain resurfaced. Crush! He crushed the illusion, determined to cast aside weakness. Looking up at the moon outside the window, the demonic god regained his inherent cold demeanor. The next morning at the medical hall, a subordinate reported in a panic, "Sir, are you saying the Flamefire Divine Art Manual?" The demonic god stood before the chief steward and another old man, calmly asking in return, "That's right. What's so surprising? Am I asking for something I shouldn't have?" The bearded steward, his face covered in bandages, cautiously asked, "May I ask for the reason?" The demonic god's gaze was as sharp as a blade, his overwhelming aura rendering the opponent speechless. "What? Are you afraid I'll go mad and tear up the manual?" he scoffed, making the steward hastily deny it. The demonic god declared directly, "You can't teach the secret art yourself, can you? Then, starting tomorrow, I will personally train those two children. What do you say?" The bearded steward's unconvinced expression was clear, though his mouth still denied. "No, not at all." The demonic god uttered a chilling remark to quell all worries. "Elder Joe will have nothing to worry about. Don't concern yourself." And the steward could only bow his head in compliance. Whoosh! Chief Steward Dubakshin tremblingly placed the Flamefire Divine Art Manual on the table. Having obtained what he needed, the demonic god turned and left without another word, leaving the two old men bowing in farewell with complex expressions. Once the young master was out of sight, the bearded steward finally sighed in relief, asking worriedly, "Will this truly be all right?" Chief Steward Dubakshin tried to reassure him. "Don't worry too much. Haven't you already witnessed the young master's overwhelming swordplay? His recent madness has also subsided. There must be good progress." The bearded steward remained skeptical. "But does that treatment method also enhance martial arts? I've never heard of such a thing." The two old men fell into silence, unable to explain the young master's sudden change and unreasonable power. The bearded steward's hand clenched tightly, revealing an indescribable mix of worry and determination. He looked up, his eyes filled with contemplation, clearly still unable to fully trust this new young master. The next morning, at the training ground, the demonic god stood before the host body's younger brother and sister. He began the first training session, acting superior as he pointed and explained theories to the two children. He even played a trick, stretching his nose like Pinocchio to tease the two children. The innocent younger brother asked a critical question. "But it's strange," Elder Joe said. "Big brother also has no real combat experience," which made his older sister beside him turn pale with fear. The demonic god completely ignored the question, getting straight to the main point. Anyway, theory is over. Moving on to practice. Both of you, attack me. Then, here we come, big brother." The two children immediately took their stances, channeling their internal energy, looking quite like professional martial artists. Hua So-yun let out a spirited cry, charging with her younger brother to attack their new older brother. Both children launched attacks like a storm, but the demonic god merely stood still, curling his lips into a sneer as if watching a farce. What is this?" The demonic god was utterly stunned, unable to believe his eyes. He was speechless. What in the world are these kids doing? These pathetic cat-scratching martial arts. The demonic god began to doubt everything. Is this truly a martial arts lineage, or are they just too inexperienced? He analyzed. These punches don't even know how to use the lower body as a foundation. As for technique, forget it. Even basic coordination is non-existent. A wave of mental shock washed over him, and the demonic god clutched his head and roared, startling the two children who quickly intervened. Stop. Suddenly, I feel so dizzy. That's enough for today. The demonic god acted dramatically, causing his younger brother to ask in confusion while secretly thinking he hadn't even landed a punch. He muttered to himself, "Their skill level is worse than I thought. Their bodies aren't developed enough to learn advanced martial arts. I must start with physical training." The two children, sweating profusely and panting heavily, watched their domineering older brother turn and walk away. Standing alone in the courtyard, the demonic god sighed, admitting, "This is not as easy as I thought." He turned his thoughts to his deceased master. "Master, you must have suffered greatly. I apologize that the sect's bloodline would be severed in my generation. I will revive this clan, and I will certainly continue your legacy. And that bastard who wields that damned sword or spear, the one I could never find in my previous life." With that, his hand reached for the hilt of a massive training greatsword. His eyes sharpened as he gripped the weapon tightly and vowed, "I will definitely find him and kill him." Whoosh! The massive greatsword was lifted effortlessly into the air. He stomped his foot on the ground, feeling power surging. "Now I can lift it easily with one hand. I can feel it." Swish! The demonic god began to swing his weapon, feeling each stream of heaven and earth's energy converging. With each swing of the blade, his speed and power increased by another level, creating streaks of crimson light in the air. The demonic god leapt into the air, swinging the greatsword at dusk, with an aura as if to tear the sky apart. A few days later, some people returned to the Manhwa clan. Chelboin, with a bandaged arm, and the bearded steward announced, "We have returned." The demonic god replied coldly, "You've worked hard." The retainer Masok jumped up. "Just worked hard?" Everyone shed blood to protect the second young master and young lady. The demonic god glared sideways, his voice filled with killing intent. "If I had arrived a moment later, all of you would have returned in coffins. Try that stunt again, and I'll be the first to put you in a coffin. Mark my words." Chelboin and the steward were terrified, hastily bowing their heads. "Our apologies, sir." Meanwhile, Chief Steward Du Bakshan was boasting loudly. "There's been progress. I told you only I could cure the young master." An old man wearing a Taoist robe, leaning on a staff, with an extraordinary aura, walked forward, startling a lowly guard. "Oh? That person is?" The demonic god looked directly at the old man, his voice contemptuous. "Who are you? There's no food for beggars here. Get out." Masok rushed out in a panic to intervene. "Young master, please be careful with your words. This is the one who treated you, sir." Without a word, the demonic god launched a kick, sending Masok flying to the side. Scram! He curled his lips into a meaningful smile. "Oh, I was so disrespectful. My apologies for not recognizing you." The demonic god's eyes flashed with a deadly crimson glow as he sneered. "The Taoist priest must be hungry after such a long journey. Please, come inside first." A few days prior, Masok had reported about a Taoist priest from the Wudang sect, famous for his martial arts healing with righteous energy. The demonic god thought to himself, "So, this is that fellow?" Then politely invited the old man inside. The old Taoist priest Do Young-soo cleared his throat, putting on airs, and calmly followed the demonic god. The demonic god glanced through the closing gap of the door, his gaze as sharp as a knife. The door slammed shut, trapping the demonic god and the old Taoist priest inside, leaving Chelboin and another old man outside. Chelboin turned to ask the old Taoist priest Du Young-soo with a suspicious look, "I heard you inherited the legacy of the Wudang sect." The old Taoist priest Do Young-soo puffed out his chest, proclaiming himself the Wudang White Immortal, the sole successor of Wudang. Crack! Without a word, the demonic god stomped and broke the old man's staff, startling him. The demonic god sneered, pressing his face close to the fraudulent old man. "Strange. I've never heard of any Wudang successors surviving." The old man was sweating profusely, stammering denials, but the demonic god warned him bluntly, "Tell me the truth, or soon there will be no turning back." The demonic god drew his greatsword from its sheath, his voice full of sarcasm. "Keep talking. They'll try to believe you're genuine. If you're truly from Wudang, dodging this attack should be child's play, right?" The demonic god swung his massive greatsword, making the Taoist priest scream in terror. The fraudulent old man screamed in panic as the massive blade grazed his face. The subordinates outside the courtyard cried out in alarm, but the demonic god coldly ordered, "Silence. Bring me a bucket of water, quickly." The demonic god turned to the bewildered retainer Masok, curling his lips. "I'll show you some fun." Splash. Water splashed everywhere, The demonic god poured the bucket of cold water directly onto the face of the Taoist priest lying flat on the ground. The fraudulent old man stubbornly argued, yelling that the Manhwa clan was repaying kindness with enmity, but the demonic god had already grabbed his beard. The demonic god's eyes were sharp, and he acted decisively. "Rip!" He gave a strong tug. The retainer Masak and Commander Chelboin, standing outside the courtyard, could only gape in astonishment, not understanding what was happening. The Taoist priest's eyes were wide with horror as he realized his beard was gone. The demonic god held the fake beard in his hand, sneering contemptuously. A fake beard? And carefully glued on too, the demonic god curled his lips. Filthy swindler. The door slammed shut again. Inside, the demonic god roared in anger at almost being fooled by a bunch of nobodies. The retainer Masak anxiously asked how the young master intended to deal with the old man, to which the demonic god coldly replied, "I cannot let him go easily." With blazing red eyes, the demonic god growled, "How about I chop off all his limbs and turn him into a eunuch," making the swindler scream for his life. The demonic god smirked, "I won't kill you. If you die, who will I collect money from? I'll just trim a few things." The swindler, Do Youngsu, turned pale with fear, hastily pleading, "Please spare my limbs. I'll return all the money I swindled." "Paying is a given," the demonic god declared. "But I'll charge extra for your useless limbs and your manhood." The demonic god turned to ask the chief steward, "Hey steward, how much did this old man swindle from you?" And received a mumbled reply, 50 taels of gold." "Huh? 50? You were swindled that badly? Truly easy to lead by the nose," the demonic god said, speechless. "How have you people been doing business all these years?" The steward and Chilboin tried to make excuses, but the demonic god roared, "Silence! I've heard enough. I don't want to hear any more." The demonic god turned back to the swindler prostrating on the ground. "You heard that. Start with 50 taels of gold." The swindler stammered, "The money. The money isn't here. If we go to my mansion in Jinyang, 4 hours?" "Lead the way," the demonic god commanded decisively, giving the old man no chance to hesitate. Chalboin anxiously asked, "Young master, should we accompany you?" But the demonic god brushed him off. "No need. What can weaklings like you do? Do you want me to clean up your corpses too?" Chalboin fell silent, not daring to utter another word in the face of the young master's harshness. "Get lost, swindler! Lead the way quickly!" the demonic god roared, walking out the door with the trembling old man. The chief steward placed a hand on Chelboin's shoulder, sighing. "Just trust him this once." The young master, as the demonic god strode away with determined steps, the steward realized, he is no longer the person he once was. The demonic god and the swindler walked along the dirt road through the town, the old man trudging ahead to lead the way. The two passed a large building, the demonic god maintaining his domineering aura, paying no attention to his surroundings. The demonic god began to get annoyed. "Damn it! I should have found a horse. Does this cursed place not have any beasts?" The swindler Du Yongsu pointed ahead. "That's the carriage I arrived in. Please, sir, get in." "Umph. You must have swindled quite a bit." The demonic god sneered at the old man upon seeing a luxurious 4-horse carriage waiting. The demonic god stepped into the lavish carriage, acting like a true master. He clicked his tongue, glancing around with a mix of mockery and disdain. The interior of the carriage was sumptuously decorated, and the demonic god commented, "The inside is even more luxuriously adorned." As the swindler Du Yongsu explained the amenities, the demonic god retorted sarcastically, "A swindler like you even has such professional ethics. How impressive. If you're so professional, why don't you find honest work?" The demonic god questioned, while the old man could only bow his head in assent. He didn't bother to argue further, declaring bluntly, "I'm going to take a nap here. Wake me when we arrive," then leaned back. The demonic god closed his eyes, showing no caution whatsoever towards the cunning old man. As soon as the demonic god fell asleep, Du Yongsu's expression immediately changed, his eyes flashing with malice as he muttered, "Just you wait, you bastard." The old man ordered the coachman, "Depart." The 4-horse carriage began to roll, entering a secluded, fog-shrouded mountain road. The carriage continued to move along deserted paths, venturing deep into uninhabited territory. The carriage entered a dense, gloomy forest, signaling an impending ambush. The wheels abruptly stopped in the middle of the trail. Du Yongsu stepped out of the carriage, clearly having reached the rendezvous point. A burly man with blazing red tattoos emerged from the forest, and Do Yongsu spoke, "You've arrived." The old man pointed at the carriage. "He's fast asleep inside. Drag him out and make an example of him for the others." The muscular man looked visibly annoyed, growling. "Again?" He mumbled some fake platitudes. Why would anyone dare to obstruct the business of a Taoist priest, saving all sentient beings? The muscular man stepped into the carriage, towering over the sleeping demonic god, declaring, "This is the price you pay for your foolishness." He channeled his internal energy into his fist, preparing to deliver a finishing blow to his unsuspecting prey. "Don't blame us." The muscular man's eyes widened in shock. "Huh?" His earth-shattering punch was blocked with effortless ease. The demonic god, still seated, casually caught the burly man's fist, wondering, "What the hell?" Still gripping his opponent's wrist, the demonic god yawned in boredom. "Are we there yet?" Without another word, he swung his arm. The muscular man screamed, then flew like a ball, crashing into the side of the carriage. The giant man flew straight out of the carriage, face planting into the ground. The swindling Taoist priest's jaw dropped, sweat pouring down him like rain. "What?" The old man recalled the henchman's title, Sichong's hidden dragon. It turned out he wasn't just an empty barrel making noise. The Taoist priest trembled as he looked at the demonic god, muttering, "Since when did Jinyang become such a wilderness?" The demonic god stepped out of the carriage, coldly asking, "Was I your target from the start? I thought you were just a swindler, but it seems you can scheme too." Blazing red demonic energy erupted around the demonic god as he stood upright. "In any case, I'm bored." He smirked, his bloodshot eyes gleaming with amusement. "Let's see what tricks you have." The demonic god stood amidst the encirclement, his aura overwhelming. "Perfect timing. My hands are itching for a fight." He cracked his knuckles, declaring, "Time for a warm-up." The muscular man scrambled to his feet after being thrown, yelling for reinforcements. "Everyone, come out now." The demonic god looked at the muscular man, sneering. A cunning fellow calling for his gang. "I see." Immediately, a mob of henchmen, brandishing various heavy weapons like axes and spiked maces, rushed out from the forest. The entire gang of the Zhongshan Sima clan took their stances, exuding a fierce killing intent. The demonic god glanced at the weapons, remarking, "They look like creatively crafted wash basins," then sensed the surge of demonic energy emanating from them. He casually placed his hand on the hilt of the great saber on his back. Quite a diverse array of weapons. The demonic god stood imposing, his overwhelming aura making all the Sima clan thugs gape in astonishment. He smirked, issuing a challenge. "Let's see what interesting tricks you have up your sleeves." Whoosh! The demonic god darted like a ghost, his eyes flashing with deadly red light. Sichong's hidden dragon hadn't even had time to compose himself, his eyes wide with terror. Wham! A devastating blow landed squarely on the muscular man's face, making him scream in pain. The other thugs, seeing their boss being pummeled, immediately rushed forward to assist. The demonic god easily dodged the attacks, moving like a whirlwind amidst the enemy's encirclement. One man yelled in panic, "That bastard is fighting unfairly, only targeting one person. Quick, help our leader." A bearded man roared, swinging his massive spiked mace down with all his might. But the demonic god merely faced him with disdain, his power terrifying his opponent. What kind of monstrous power is this? Clang! He easily blocked the attack, seizing his opponent's weapon with his bare hand. The muscular man was stunned as his weapon was seized with such ease. The demonic god remarked coldly, "There's nothing worth seeing here." Thud! He used the enemy's own mace to pierce through Sichong's hidden dragon, blood splattering everywhere. Two other men charged from both sides, but it was like moths flying into a flame. A man with a goatee roared, swinging his saber down with a ferocious expression. The demonic god effortlessly shifted his body, narrowly dodging the attack, completely dominating the fight. Another man, wielding a spear, also charged forward, yelling loudly in despair. The man with the goatee continued to frantically swing his weapon, but it was all useless. The demonic god danced with his sword amidst the encirclement, perfectly blocking every attack. Thwack! The demonic god delivered a devastating elbow strike to the face of a thug. Clang! Blades clashed, sparks flying, a display of absolute power. He spun, wielding his sword like a whirlwind, sweeping away the surrounding small fry. Another man raised his weapon to block, his face paling as he realized the disparity in skill. Crack! His weapon cracked under a seemingly light slash. The muscular man's great saber broke in half, rendered completely useless. The man with the goatee roared in despair, sweat pouring off him like rain. Thwack! A punch straight to the face instantly sent him flying. The demonic god moved like a ghost, easily dodging and counterattacking. The man with the goatee collapsed, exhausted and unable to believe what had just happened. The demonic god muttered, realizing that these people cultivated demonic arts, something that should not exist in the Central Plains. He gripped his sword hilt, pondering, "What should I do if I don't want to kill these juniors who use demonic arts?" Just as he was about to act, a shout of "Wait!" rang out. The muscular, tattooed man, leader of the thugs, threw his weapon to the ground. He knelt prostrate on the ground, yelling, "We surrender. Please spare our lives." A Sima clan elder stood from afar, bitterly exclaiming, "Damn it, how could the Sima clan lose so helplessly like this?" The demonic god turned back and asked the leader, "You knew it was hopeless, yet you still stubbornly persisted? Do you enjoy getting beaten?" He smirked with a sinister grin. "All right, I'll spare you. But I will shatter your energy cores and cripple all your meridians." The leader was stunned, realizing that this fate was worse than death. Immediately, he kowtowed repeatedly, pleading, "Great hero. We were just following orders. Please don't cripple our lives as martial artists." The demonic god snapped at the muscular, tattooed man who was whimpering. "You're old enough. Why are you still whining?" He looked down at Xicheng's hidden dragon, who was prostrate on the ground, questioning him directly. "Who taught you?" The demonic god growled, making it clear he meant who had taught them demonic arts. As this kind of energy was not common in the Central Plains, the muscular man fearfully revealed that their master was still alive until last year, but none of them even knew his name. The demonic god openly showed disdain, scoffing, "What kind of disciples are you, not even knowing your master's name?" But the other man quickly explained that the old teacher had told them there was no need for a master-disciple relationship. The demonic god's gaze sharpened, and he criticized, "Then you should have found some corner to cultivate your crippled martial arts instead of becoming bandits?" Xicheng's hidden dragon hastily denied it, saying that they weren't bandits, but merely assisting someone's business. When asked who it was, the muscular man stammered out the name of the fraudulent Taoist priest who had lured them with the guise of a righteous cause to help the common folk. The demonic god waved his hand, dismissing the thugs as if chasing away evil spirits, warning them directly, "Get lost. Don't be that guy's henchman anymore. If I see you again, you die." Turning to the fraudulent old man, the demonic god coldly demanded compensation for both the lives lost and the mental distress he had endured, making the old man turn pale with fear, yet still having to comply. The Sima clan thugs watched the carriage disappear into the distance, their leader lost in thought. Xicheng's hidden dragon recalled his master's past teachings. "Our nature is shallow and easily influenced, so we must choose our companions wisely." The old teaching continued to echo, that if they encountered someone both powerful and righteous, they should follow them to seek protection. The leader clenched his fist, seemingly having made up his mind, and all his subordinates shared the same thought. Sitting in the carriage, the demonic god suddenly felt the carriage stop, and he irritably asked, "What now? Why did it stop?" He pulled back the curtain, his face scowling with annoyance. "What's the matter this time?" Outside, all the Sima clan thugs had returned, standing in front of the carriage and shouting loudly, "Leader!" All of them simultaneously knelt prostrate on the ground, swearing to follow the Yomhua clan to their deaths and begging to be accepted. The demonic god was speechless, muttering, wondering if these guys had been beaten senseless to call a mere youngster big brother. Xicheng's hidden dragon and his companions yelled, begging the demonic god to accept them because they hadn't even passed adulthood yet. The demonic god's jaw dropped upon learning these underlings hadn't even reached adulthood, muttering, "Impossible!" The carriage continued its journey in the silent night. A horse in the team neighed loudly. Inside the carriage, the demonic god sat with his knees drawn up, an exasperated expression on his face, sweat pouring down at the unbearable enthusiasm. All of the Sima brothers had squeezed into the carriage, sitting tightly packed around him, each of them with a beaming face. The demonic god sarcastically asked if they had all suffered chi deviation, but one of them asserted that they never had. Standing outside, Masak and the accompanying old man could only listen silently to the situation inside. He crossed his arms, adopting a superior air, questioning why a group of demonic cultivators would act as hounds for a decaying orthodox sect. The eldest brother, Cheol Mook, explained that his master taught demonic arts as a way of life, not a sect. And the youngest brother, No Sak, nodded in agreement. The demonic god secretly admitted that it wasn't wrong, but in reality, no orthodox sect would be foolish enough to harbor demonic cultivators. The other two brothers, Dongjok and Zhang Te, strained their necks and declared they would smash the skulls of anyone who dared to speak ill of them. The demonic god smirked. This kind of innocence reminded him of someone from his past, perhaps his master. He began to lay down conditions like a supreme overlord. "If you want to follow me, you must stake your lives on every command. Personal freedom is zero. You must obey orders like dogs." All four brothers roared in unison without hesitation. "Understood. We will dedicate ourselves completely, big brother." The demonic god helplessly waved his hand, resignedly accepting, "Good heavens. Fine. Do as you please. From now on, you are warriors of the Hua clan." The whole group shouted their thanks. He irritably told them to stop calling him Big Brother and call him Young Master instead, and they promptly roared back, "Understood, Young Master." Night fell. A full moon hung in the star-filled sky. The carriage finally arrived at the main gate of the Yomhwa clan. The carriage did not stop but sped straight through the gate, entering the inner courtyard. The wheels rolled smoothly over the stone ground, ending one journey and opening a new act for the declining clan. Jung Chun glanced at the fortune-teller's estate, uttering a sarcastic remark. "Quite luxurious, isn't it? Is this your home?" The fortune-teller Do Youngsu trembled as he invited the group inside, hastily ordering the retainers to open the gate. The retainers were bewildered to see their master return with a group of strangers, and were immediately yelled at by Do Youngsu to prepare food. Jung Chun interrupted the old man's act. "Forget it. We need to check your treasure vault first." The fortune-teller fearfully led the way, while his subordinates stared at the muscular Sima brothers. Jung Chun looked down at the cowering old man, his voice as cold as ice. "So this is how you live off your swindled money." A decisive set of footsteps echoed. A deep voice asked, "What's going on, big brother?" A warrior who seemed to be the real deal, Bai Sojin, stepped out with a stern expression. The fortune-teller flinched, hastily waving his hand. "Brother Bai, it's nothing, please go inside." Bisojin paid no attention, pressing on. "Tell me, who are these people?" One of the Sima brothers growled. "He told you to leave. Why do you keep poking your nose into others' business?" Jung Chun sighed, looking annoyed. "Judging by your clothes, you must also be a guest of this swindler. Guests shouldn't interfere in others' household affairs." Bisojin's gaze sharpened. Killing intent began to emanate. In just a blink of an eye, Jung Chun was already close to Bisojin, his voice icy cold. "Quite a sharp tongue you have, brat." Chel Muk, the tattooed man, spoke up for instructions. "Young master, shall I deal with him?" The fortune-teller Do Yong-su frantically tried to intervene, hastily introducing, "These are Zhongshan's 4 demons and the eldest young master of the Yomhwa clan." Upon hearing this, Bai Sojin merely sneered, his contempt evident. The warrior sneered. "No wonder you have such a sharp tongue. So you're the crazy son of the Yomhwa clan. A righteous path brat associating with lowlifes. How interesting." Jung Chun didn't bother to argue. "If you're amused enough, then scram. We're busy." Bisojin blocked his path, continuing to provoke, claiming to be of the righteous path, yet you associate with demonic cultivators and bully commoners. Your grandfather must be screaming in his grave. Chel Muk tightened his grip on his staff, veins bulging. "I can't take it anymore." The muscular man bowed, requesting permission. "Young master, please allow me to smash that scoundrel's jaw." Jung Chun waved him off, his voice icy cold. "Step back, I'll handle it." With a whoosh, the demonic god landed directly in front of Bisojin, the ground cracking. Jung Chun looked down at the trembling underlings, sarcastically. "Oh, so even dogs know how to protect their master." His crimson eyes glowed, he provocatively beckoned. "Come here, stray dog." Bisojin was enraged, his facial veins twitching. He drew his sword and charged. Clang! The 2 swords clashed, sparks flying. Bai Sojin wielded his sword like a madman, unleashing a series of high-speed slashes. Jung Chun merely used his scabbard to parry the attacks with ease, effortlessly deflecting every sword strike. He sneered. "Your swordplay is fast, but too weak." Bisojin froze, sweat pouring down. "What?" Clang! Jung Chun blocked his opponent's sword strike with overwhelming force. He spun around, using his own scabbard to knock away Bisojin's sword. Bisojin lost his balance, was sent flying backward, completely outmatched. The demonic god gave his opponent no chance, continuing to press forward with a devastating strike. Bisojin stared in horror as his sword cracked and shattered before his eyes. "Gah, my sword?" Crack! The warrior's sword shattered into countless pieces. The Sima brothers, watching, commented, "It's over. Once he corners someone, there's no way to turn the tables." The fortune-teller Do Youngsu's face went pale, his jaw dropped. "What?" Crash! Jung Chun shattered Bisojin's weapon with his scabbard, effortlessly. The broken sword fragments plunged into the ground, ending the martial artist's career. The demonic god smirked, his crimson eyes gleaming with amusement. He was truly a monster. Not giving his opponent a chance to recover, he lunged forward and unleashed a devastating bare-handed blow. Bisojin was sent flying like a tattered rag doll, slamming straight into the wall with terrifying force. The impact was so powerful, it created a large indentation on the stone wall. The Sima brothers nodded in satisfaction, just as expected, while the old diviner Du Youngsu was drenched in cold sweat. Jung Chun ordered his subordinate, Hey, throw me your iron mace, and the muscular Cheol Muk immediately obeyed. Yes, young master. Standing over the flattened Bi Sojin, the demonic god held the new mace and growled. What did you say? My grandfather is crying in his grave? The demonic god's eyes blazed with mad fury. He snarled, Fine, let me help you scream in your grave right next to him. Bi Sojin, who had been arrogant moments before, now had a pale face and stammered a plea. Ah, wait. Ignoring the pleas, the demonic god began a brutal torture session. The sound of bones colliding echoed sharply. Pressing the mace down, Chung Chun warned, Get your hands down. Get them down now, you bastard. Your bones are about to break. While Bi Sojin could only scream in pain, the demonic god's sinister laughter echoed everywhere, and one of the Sima brothers exclaimed, He truly knows how to discipline people. The old diviner Do Yongsu had a bloodless face and trembled as he realized, That man is about to die, isn't he? Overwhelmed with fear, Du Yongsu rushed forward to intervene, clasping his hands in supplication. Oh heavens, young master, I beg you, spare him. Bai Sojin lay convulsing on the floor, while the old diviner frantically explained, He is connected to the demonic faction. We cannot let him die in our home. He looked extremely tense and whispered, And here I thought you would place your foolish hopes on this clown. Zhongchon grinned as if nothing had happened. You should have said so sooner, which utterly shocked the old diviner, who muttered, Madman. Stopping his hand, the demonic god turned and casually walked towards a door, as if he had just finished a trivial chore. The demonic god stepped into the diviner's treasure vault, filled with gold, and smirked. Well, it seems you've amassed quite a fortune. He sneered and began calculating professionally. All right, let's settle the accounts. First, the lives of the 4 men behind you. 500 gold ingots each. The diviner's face paled as the demonic god continued to list amidst a sea of gold. Second, compensation for your 4 limbs. 200 gold ingots. Your own life is worth 300 ingots. He broke out in a cold sweat as the demonic god priced the disciple who had just been beaten. And your foul-mouthed junior, that arrogant fellow from earlier, he's worth 1,000 gold ingots. Finally, my mental and physical damages today. 3,000 gold ingots. The demonic god raised a finger, concluding simply, To simplify the math, cough up everything you have. Well, any objections? The diviner was drenched in sweat. Gritting his teeth, he agreed. Of course not, while internally screaming, This bastard is more brutal than any bandit gang. Without another word, the Sima brothers immediately rushed in, carrying out chests of gold and jewels like a professional army. The demonic god stood supervising, giving a concise order to a subordinate, Clear it all out, leave nothing behind, and the man promptly obeyed. While supervising, the demonic god suddenly paused, sensing something unusual in the room. He spun around, his gaze fixed on an old, worn screen standing in the corner of the room. His eyes narrowed, scrutinizing it carefully, as if he had just discovered a new toy. A strange aura emanated from the screen. The demonic god muttered, There's something off about this screen. Seeing this, the diviner quickly asked, trying to curry favor, Young master, do you like that screen? The demonic god replied indifferently, Not really. But the diviner quickly flattered him. Indeed, you have a discerning eye. That screen is the work of Grandmaster Zhang Sosan. The old man obsequiously offered the item, and the demonic god accepted it without hesitation, making the old man curse inwardly. Greedy brat. All the spoils of war, including gold, silver, and the screen, were loaded onto a horse-drawn carriage. The demonic god casually turned to the diviner. You won't be needing this carriage anymore, will you? Since you won't be going anywhere far, I'll take it, all right? Which made the old man silently nod. All right, let's go. The demonic god chuckled gleefully, ordering them to depart after having thoroughly plundered. Clatter, the carriage wheels began to roll, carrying away a newly acquired fortune. The group swaggered away, leaving a sarcastic message for the thoroughly stripped homeowners. Farewell. Next time we meet, remember to live properly. The diviner Do Yongsu helplessly watched his carriage, laden with spoils, disappear into the distance, bitterly cursing. Meet again? You've plundered enough. Are you even human? He looked up at the sky and sighed, his face contorted. Oh heavens, why is this so unfair? What did I do wrong to encounter such a madman? At the Yomhua clan's residence, the atmosphere seemed peaceful. Masok, the retainer, was startled by the sight before him. Wait, what is this? One of the Sima brothers, Cheol Muk, walked in carrying a chest full of gleaming gold ingots. All 4 muscular Sima brothers successively carried chests of gold into the courtyard, while the demonic god and Masok watched. Masok stammered, his face pale. Young master, Where did you get so much money? Don't tell me you killed someone too? But the demonic god merely replied disdainfully. No, didn't you say we were short on money? Guard it carefully. The demonic god turned to ask Masok about the Sima brothers, while one of them placed a chest of gold down at the steward's command. Masok remarked that the muscular men didn't look ordinary, but the demonic god retorted bluntly, no matter how I look at them, they're all over 40. Masok wondered where Steward Do and Elder Joe were. The retainer suddenly remembered. Oh, that's right. Very important guests have arrived. They're in the reception room. They told me to bring you there as soon as you returned. The demonic god frowned in annoyance. More guests? Another swindler here? But Masok quickly waved his hands. No, absolutely not. You must meet them, quickly. The demonic god walked decisively towards the reception room, his aura overwhelming. The steward and Elder Joe Huanbong were startled to see the young master arrive and hastily welcomed him. The steward began to introduce. Allow me to introduce. Young master. These are the 3 merchant group leaders who have generously supported our clan during difficult times. Peng Quan-o, leader of the Pengzheng merchant group, spoke first, his eyes sharp. I heard the hidden dragon has awakened. It seems the rumors are true. Dong Guanyo, of the Muryang Merchant Union, and Huang Youchong of the Golden Finance Manor also introduced themselves in turn, expressing joy at seeing the young master still healthy. The demonic god raised his hand, signaling that he understood. He offered a meaningful smile and introduced himself formally. I am Hua Mujin of the Yomhua clan. Thank you for coming. The steward standing beside him could only bow his head, sweat pouring from him due to tension. Elder Zhou Huanbong initiated the conversation, adopting a condescending air towards the merchant guild masters. The old fox merchant guild masters also forced smiles, each with a different expression, but all were probing. The demonic god lightly tapped his finger on the teacup, preparing to interrupt the empty charade. He cut straight to the chase. So, the 3 of you are here to collect debts, aren't you? Silencing the entire room. Peng Quan-o hastily waved his hands, stammering denials. No, we merely came to congratulate the young master on his recovery. The demonic god sneered, feigning generosity. I appreciate your support, but debts must be settled fairly. He continued the act, pretending to be a naive, yet straightforward young master. Secondly, I wish to know the exact total amount the Hua clan owes you. Huang Youchong nodded, feigning admiration. Indeed, a young master unlike any other. Your words are most accurate. Peng Quan-o began listing. The Pengyang Merchant Group, 5,300 taels. Golden Finance Manor, 3,200 taels. And the Muryang Alliance, 1,900 taels. The demonic god smirked, mentally calculating the considerable sum, a total of 10,400 taels. The merchant guild masters exchanged glances, the atmosphere growing tense after the sum was revealed. Huang Youchong decided to lay his cards on the table, confessing a secret. In truth, we have been under immense pressure from the Chonghua Merchant Guild. The demonic god's eyes flashed with a cold glint upon hearing the familiar name. Peng Quan-o explained further. What they desire is the right to collect the debt your clan owes us. He recounted how the Chonghua Merchant Guild used its immense financial power to suppress them, monopolize goods, and sever all business ties. The steward standing behind the demonic god turned pale upon hearing this, not expecting the situation to be so dire. Huang Youchong bowed his head, admitting bitterly, it is truly shameful, but we no longer have the strength to resist. The demonic god listened in silence, his expression unchanging, as if everything was within his calculations. He set down his teacup, his tone filled with empathy. I am truly grateful for your generosity. Thinking of what you have endured weighs heavily on my heart. He glanced towards the 2 elders of his clan, speaking with hidden meaning. Those who clung to our clan during its prosperity have all abandoned us, leaving only Elder Joe and Chief Steward Du. The demonic god looked directly at the 3 merchant guild masters, asserting, and the 3 of you are the ones who remain to protect this clan. He placed his hand on the table, his voice firm. I may not be skilled with words, but there is one thing I understand very clearly. Debts of gratitude must be repaid fairly. The demonic god stood up, declaring bluntly, I will repay everything this Hua clan owes you, immediately. The Golden Finance Manor Master and the Pengyang Merchant Group Master gaped, unable to believe their ears. Is that truly possible? The demonic god's eyes flashed with a deadly red, as he made an even more terrifying offer. And to repay both principal and interest for your assistance, I will free you from the clutches of the Chonghua Merchant Guild. He reiterated his ironclad promise, his overbearing aura filling the entire room. His fiery red gaze swept over the creditors, like an unbreakable vow. All three merchant guild masters were speechless, completely overwhelmed by the earth-shattering declaration from a mere youth. The Punjiang merchant group master tremblingly raised his hand, seemingly still in shock. He gathered all his courage to ask again, his voice full of hope. "Young Master Mujin, do you mean you are willing to use force for us?" The demonic god replied curtly, naturally, making the Punjiang merchant group master overjoyed. "Young Master Mujin." Elder Zhou Huanbong sprang to his feet, his face drained of color. "What in the world are you saying? Do you know who is backing those scoundrels?" The elder cried out in despair. Images of Kongdong sect masters appearing. "It's the Kongdong sect, one of the strongest sects in this martial world." The demonic god merely smirked, his attitude indifferent, as if hearing trivial gossip. "Oh, so those old men are backing them?" The Golden Finance Manor Master raised his hand, speaking to the hosts. "Don't worry, Chief Steward Do." He continued, his voice earnest. "Just having the debts repaid would satisfy us greatly. We would never wish for the Hua clan to confront the Kongdong sect." The demonic god calmly took a sip of tea, while the Golden Finance Manor Master secretly thought, "Just as I suspected, a sleeping dragon has truly awakened." He glanced at the Manor Master, who was forcing a smile, secretly calculating his next move. After reaching an agreement, the Merchant Guild Masters bowed and departed. "Then we shall take our leave. We wish prosperity upon your clan." The three figures stood gazing into the distance, towards the stronghold of their common enemy, muttering, "Changhua Merchant Guild." The demonic god ordered Chief Steward Du Baektion. "Chief Steward Du, gather all information about those rats for me," startling the old man. "Young Master Mujin?" The chief steward still couldn't believe his ears, stammering a question, but the demonic god merely replied coldly. "Do you think him joking? Grudges and favors must be settled fairly." He turned to explain to the two trembling elders. "If we leave them be, sooner or later those scoundrels will choke us. At this point, we must go all in." The three figures walked under the setting sun, the demonic god asserting, "Over a decade of supporting them only led to this outcome. They can no longer hold us back." He smirked with deep meaning. "Then perhaps we should repay them once, as is proper, shouldn't we? They'll probably consider this the arrogant ramblings of a madman." The demonic god turned back, his face radiating absolute confidence. "Just wait and see." One of the Sima brothers stepped forward to report, "Young Master Mujin, the task you assigned us is complete." The demonic god nodded. "Good, gather here." The demonic god gestured for the four muscular men to greet the two bewildered elders. "Go on, greet them. These are our clan's elder and chief steward." He introduced his new subordinates. "Starting today, these are the warriors who will join our clan, the renowned youths of Zhongshan." The four burly, fierce-looking muscular men bowed, greeting, "Zhongshan's four demons, we seek your guidance." Chief Steward Du Baektion and the other steward could only gape, speechless at this unimaginable introduction. The demonic god sneered, raising a finger. "Don't be shocked yet. There's something even more surprising. All of them." He snapped his fingers, and images of the four monstrous figures appeared. "Are younger than me." The two elders unconsciously cried out, "What? Impossible." Meanwhile, Zhongshan's four demons were discussing. "So hungry, let's tear into some meat?" Another wondered, "Why are they staring so intently?" The last one smugly added, "They must be overwhelmed by our aura." Chief Steward Du Baektion finally recovered his senses, hastily questioning, "Young Master Mujin, are you unaware of the terrifying reputation of Zhongshan's four demons? Why would you unilaterally bring them into the clan?" The demonic god turned back, his gaze sharp as he retorted, "Did you ask for my opinion before secretly planning to send my siblings into hiding?" He asserted his absolute authority. "I approve, they stay. I don't approve, they're kicked out. Don't forget, I am the one who will become the next clan head." After asserting his dominance, the demonic god turned to order Masak. "Masak, go buy an ox." But the retainer stammered, We no longer have money." Masak explained in fear. "Have you forgotten, sir? Over 10,000 taels of gold were just used to pay off all the debts," leaving the demonic god speechless. The demonic god and the two old stewards suddenly appeared in a room filled with gold, silver, and treasures, leaving both of them stunned. Old steward Du Baektion's jaw dropped. "All of this? That swindler hid an entire fortune." The bearded steward frantically asked, "Young Master Mujin, don't tell me you?" But the demonic god nonchalantly replied, "Calm down, I didn't kill him. I merely reclaimed what was originally mine." Old steward Du Baektion, still in shock, pointed at a folding screen. Then, "What about this folding screen?" The demonic god calmly explained. "Oh, They said this is one of Jung So-san's works, so they just gave it to me. Making the old steward exclaim in surprise. Jung So-san? The demonic god continued to boast. I heard it could fetch 90 gold taels even if sold cheaply, so I just took it. Meanwhile, old steward Du Baektion inspected it and confirmed, oh, it looks authentic. Well, is there enough money for meat now? The demonic god asked pointedly, then commanded, more than enough. Then stop talking and go buy it. After settling the money issue, the demonic god stood in contemplation, his eyes filled with calculation. The room door closed, concluding the clean shakedown. Jang So-san's precious folding screen stood prominently, the very item that had saved the entire clan from starvation. The next morning, dawn broke over the rolling mountains. All the Manhwa clan warriors had been summoned to the training ground, each standing next to a large sack. Hua Mujin's 2 younger siblings were also present, bewildered, and wondering why they had been called out here since the crack of dawn. The bearded steward announced, after the recent events, I realized all of you need a special training session. Chaelboin, the commander of the death squad, continued with a solemn expression. The foundation of swordsmanship is the body that wields it. No matter how formidable the martial arts, they are useless if the body is weak. The demonic god crossed his arms and stepped forward to conclude. Therefore, starting today, we will begin a special physical training course. His eyes glowed with an eerie red light, and a threatening smirk played on his lips, and I will personally oversee it. The warriors could only fall silent and swallow hard at the demonic god's declaration. I hope none of you will give up while following me. At each person's feet was a sack of rice weighing 144 kilograms, introduced as their loyal companion from today onwards. The demonic god stood before the pile of rice sacks, warning in an ice-cold voice. And let me be clear, this is not food. If I catch anyone eating it, they are dead for sure. The demonic god said coldly. There's always someone trying to sneak a bite. The Hua children wondered why their rice sacks were tiny, only about 15 kilograms. Chaelboin and another warrior were perplexed. What exactly are we supposed to do with this? The demonic god smirked and ordered, carry it on your shoulder. Chaelboin was stunned and forced a laugh. Young Master Mujin, this requires 2 people to carry. The demonic god growled, his eyes blazing. Shut your mouth and lift it, unless you want to be beaten to death. He drew a blunt greatsword. My sword isn't sharp enough to cut cleanly, but 1 strike is enough to shatter all the bones in your body. He gave an ultimatum to one of Zhongshan's 4 demons. Choose, carry it, or fight me one-on-one. The bald warrior strained himself, trying to lift the heavy rice sack onto his shoulder. Whoosh! The demonic god delivered a kick to him, growling. Are you Zhongshan's 4 demons putting on a show? He grabbed the warrior's hair, contemptuously saying, practicing demonic arts and yet so pathetic? Each of you will carry 3 sacks. The demonic god's crimson eyes flashed with a deadly glint. If you don't want to, then feel free to fight me. Chael Muk, the man with the red scar, screamed in pain as he tried to carry 3 rice sacks at once. All of Zhongshan's 4 demons bent under the terrifying weight, drenched in sweat. Elder Zhou Huanbong and Steward Du Baektion watched, their faces drained of color. What is this? The demonic god looked at his new subordinates with satisfaction. Good, just be determined and you'll lift it. Chaelboin was also straining with all his might, discarding the cowardly thought, can I do this? Even the children were gritting their teeth and enduring, carrying smaller rice sacks on their shoulders. The demonic god flashed a wicked smile. Good, now, begin 200 squats. Everyone follow me. The entire training ground echoed with desperate screams as all the warriors began their hellish training under the demonic god's supervision. A warrior's legs trembled violently, his muscles and tendons taut like bowstrings under the terrifying weight. Another man grimaced, screaming in extreme pain as he tried to hold steady. The demonic god shouted loudly, ordering his subordinates to push themselves up no matter what. The group of warriors strained themselves to perform the exercise, and the demonic god roared, tighten your abs and lift, you trash. Do you all want to die? The tattooed man of Zhongshan's 4 demons' eyes were wide with terror, feeling a strange surge of power rising within him. What is this feeling? His legs trembled uncontrollably, with only one thought in his mind. No, no. If I can't endure this, the young master will beat me to death. Surpassing his limits, the tattooed man let out an earth-shattering roar, unleashing all his strength. The steward stood watching the children, also bending their backs, carrying rice. Just watching made him feel exhausted. The old steward muttered contemptuously, silently cursing those warriors who only knew how to leech off the clan, now crying over a bit of trivial training. The demonic god declared coldly in the middle of the training ground, men like you don't deserve leniency. Anyone who pretends to be weak will die here. A whip cracked, signaling that the training intensity had not decreased. Night gradually fell, but the torturous session showed no signs of ending. A clan member collapsed from exhaustion, breathing heavily. The steward's face was drained of color as he muttered unconsciously, 200 times. A series of warriors collapsed like cut grass, falling unconscious after completing the hellish training. The demonic god looked at the scattered figures with a contemptuous gaze. Truly pathetic. An entire day just for a warm-up. With this physique, do you even dare to dream of martial arts? A warrior fell face down, and the demonic god coldly declared, "Today's training ends here." Instead, he pointed at the group. "From now on, you will become one with this rice sack." A wicked smile appeared on the demonic god's lips. "Eat with it, relieve yourselves with it, train with it, and sleep with it. You will always carry a rice sack." The demonic god clenched his fist, concluding with a sentence that plunged everyone into despair. "And for how long?" "Until I tell you to put it down." The demonic god called out to a bald man named Young-san in a chilling voice. "Hey, Young-san." "Yes." "Get ropes and tie them all up." He turned his back and walked away, uttering a deadly threat. "Anyone who unties themselves will pay with their life. Remember that." The bald man Jung-san was sweating profusely, bitterly thinking to himself, "Damn it, though I've never met him. Today I truly wish to meet him." The demonic god turned to his retainer Masak and ordered, "Masak, from today onwards, ensure the children have beef with every meal." Masak, bewildered, asked again if bathwater was needed, but the demonic god merely waved his hand. "No, I'll tell you later." As soon as he entered his private room, the demonic god staggered. Huamujin's frail body couldn't withstand the intensity of the exertion. Thud! He collapsed onto the floor, completely exhausted after tormenting the entire clan. Lying curled up on the floor, the demonic god gritted his teeth, enduring the pain from this weak body. That night, the entire clan plunged into an eerie silence. In the dining hall, a bizarre sight unfolded. All the warriors, from old to young, had to carry sacks of rice on their backs while eating dinner. The children were no exception. Little Hua So-yun, with a scrunched-up face, struggled to swallow each mouthful of rice. Two warriors trembled holding their chopsticks, their limbs weak from exhaustion. Even eating became a torment. The chief steward was not spared either, his face contorted as he tried to pick up food with the heavy sack of rice on his back. One of Zhongshan's 4 demons wondered to his brother, "Brother, don't you find it strange? I'm training my legs, but my hands are shaking like this?" The other agreed, with a bewildered expression. "You too? I felt strange since earlier." The bald man among the 4 demons added, "That's right. Even when training with our master, this has never happened." Another warrior with a golden earring also gritted his teeth, enduring, sweat pouring down. He was clearly pushed to his limit. The next day, the training continued with push-ups while carrying sacks of rice. The demonic god roared like a demon, pointing directly at an exhausted warrior. "Hey, third row, you. Yes, you bastard, do you want to die?" He swept his gaze over the struggling crowd, his voice filled with killing intent. "Why aren't you doing proper push-ups? There are still 120 more to go." Chaelboin, commander of the death squad, gritted his teeth as he watched the men doing push-ups. "Focus. These guys are truly monsters." The next day, the exercise was even more bizarre. Everyone had to carry sacks of rice, waddling like ducks, while the demonic god roared, "You will become a duck. Repeat after me. Quack, quack." 2 officials watched from afar. One shook his head, saying, "How pathetic," while the other remained silent. A warrior with golden earrings, his face contorted, yelled in despair, "Quack, quack. What the hell is going on?" Another day passed, and the torment continued. A warrior strained to lift the sack of rice, his joints creaking. The demonic god stood supervising, roaring like a fiend. "Hurry up! Do you want to train all day? Anyone slower than me will have another sack tied to them." Huadojin, the younger brother, gritted his teeth, enduring the weight of the rice sack, his face filled with extreme suffering. The children were no exception, each one trembling as they tried to complete 50 push-ups. The demonic god observed, his face wrinkled, but thought to himself, "These brats are tougher than I thought." He smirked devilishly, a dark thought arising. How about increasing the difficulty a bit? Immediately, the whole group was dragged to a raging river, with currents so strong they seemed to swallow everything. The warriors, including Chaelboin, their faces turned pale as they saw the scene before them. "This place, surely not. Young master." The demonic god merely sneered defiantly. "That's right. You must be feeling very hot, aren't you?" He pointed towards the ferocious river, where jagged rocks were battered by the waves, and issued a crazy command. "Swim across." A bald warrior stood frozen, staring at the swift current. unable to utter a word. The sack of rice on his shoulder suddenly felt weightless compared to his fear. The scene shifted to a majestic waterfall, where the water crashed down thunderously, forming a dangerous whirlpool. Hua So-yun, the younger sister, showed excitement. "Oh, a waterfall. It must be so cool, hey hey." While Hua Dojin called his sister's name in a panic, Hua Dojin whispered with a horrified expression. "So-yun, I said it was training, but this is too absurd. You don't know how to swim, why didn't you tell your brother?" The chief steward and elder Zhou Huanbong rushed over to intervene. "Young master, this cannot be, the current is too strong. This place is known for taking lives." The demonic god stood with his back turned, his tone nonchalant. "You old men worry too much. Don't worry. I've personally tested everything." The demonic god stood on the cliff, issuing a challenge to his retainers, carrying sacks of rice. "Hey, you lot. Cross the river, or fight me one-on-one. Choose wisely." One of Zhongshan's 4 demons didn't think twice, yelling, "I'll go first," then plunged straight into the raging river, despite the people on the shore shouting, "Young master!" Splash! Water splashed everywhere as the man landed. Chulmuk, the eldest brother of the 4 demons, his face hardened, admitted, "I know. Jumping into the river offers a better chance of survival than fighting the young master. I'm going too." True to their word, the remaining 2 of the 4 demons followed suit, jumping off the cliff, screaming in despair. Seeing their leaders jump, the remaining Yomhua clan warriors gritted their teeth and yelled, "Damn it, everyone jump, life or death is up to fate," then plunged themselves down. Splash! The entire river seemed to boil as numerous bodies fell into it. The chief steward and Chaelboin stood on the shore, their faces pale, cursing. The demonic god coldly declared, "If you can't do it, then leave." Suddenly, Hua So-yun darted past, her voice full of confidence. "Don't worry. Even if Big Brother really beats everyone to death, it'll be useless anyway. I'll go first." Hua Dojin, despite his fear, still gritted his teeth and told himself, "I can't say that to him. I am a warrior of the Yomhua clan." The demonic god stomped his foot, and the ground cracked. Hua Dojin gathered all his courage, yelled, "It's nothing," then also jumped straight into the river. Splash! Another column of water shot up, signaling the boy had entered the water. The chief steward and elder Zhou Huanbong, their faces drained of all color, screamed in alarm, "Young Master Dojin!" Beneath the swift current, the demonic god was already there, roaring his command. "If you fall, you will truly die. Keep your limbs moving without rest." Hua Dojin surfaced, coughing violently, struggling desperately. The boy clenched his teeth, bracing himself against the icy current. "I can do it. I can handle this much." Hua Dojin was still struggling, his small hands trying to swim forward. Hua So-yun was no better, her eyes wide with determination. "I can endure this too." Suddenly, a strong whirlpool struck, pulling Hua So-yun down to the bottom of the river. Hua So-yun was submerged by the current, her small, helpless body sinking deep to the bottom. Though on the verge of suffocating, the girl gritted her teeth and muttered to herself, It's just a trifle." Meanwhile, Hua Dojin was also struggling against the current, trying to surface for air. The boy was also swept away, gradually sinking into the cold water. From the shore, a retainer shouted in despair, "Damn it, I'm being swept away." Hua Dojin struggled in vain, as another subordinate cried out, "Young Master Hua Dojin is being swept away." The boy was in extreme panic, flailing amidst the raging current. Seeing the scene, Chaelboin roared decisively, "I'm going in." The muscular warrior charged straight into the fierce river, disregarding the danger. Chaelboin, swift as a flash, grabbed hold of Hua Dojin and roared, "Got him!" The boy coughed violently, and Chaelboin barked, "Breathe! Breathe!" He ordered, "When I give the signal, take a deep breath and hold onto my hand tightly. There's no time to escape. Well, just have to charge straight through like this." Hua Dojin clung in fear to his rescuer, preparing for the plunge into certain death. Chaelboin shouted loudly, "Now, do it!" then swam through the fierce waves with all his might. From the cliff, Chief Steward Do Bakshin and Elder Zhou Huanbong were stunned, speechless. Both old men frantically pointed and cried out, "Young Master Hua Dojin, he's over there!" Hua Dojin's small hand clung tightly to a rock outcrop, having safely reached the shore. Chaelboin set the boy down, saying in a steady voice, "You did well, kid." Hua Dojin, though exhausted and trembling, managed to say, "Thank you for saving me." Chaelboin merely let out a sigh and replied curtly, "It's nothing." Chaelboin rushed over in a panic to where Hua Dojin had collapsed from exhaustion. "Kid, are you all right?" Jiang Chun was already beside him, checking on the boy. Hua Dojin panted, "I'm fine, big brother. Luckily, there was a warrior here to help, Cholboin muttered, wondering when the young master had arrived, then turned to scold Jung Chun. Pushing too hard can be fatal. If anything happened to you, everything would be for naught. Hua Dojin looked up, his gaze thoughtful as he listened to the adult's words. Jung Chun replied with a resolute expression, sweat pouring down. We can't remain children forever. I will stay with everyone until the very end. Hearing this, Hua Dojin, as if invigorated, steeled himself and declared, so that I too can become a true warrior of the Manhwa clan. Zhang Cheon smiled faintly, seemingly pleased with the boy's resolve. On the shore, Cholboin waved his hand, cheering wholeheartedly. Excellent, young master Hua Dojin, while the boy mumbled his thanks. Elsewhere, Chief Steward Dubekshan and Cholboin stood side by side, silently observing the hellish training. The scene shifted to a steep, treacherous cliff, shrouded in mist, where the exercise was taking place. Jung Chon's hands clung tightly to the rock face, beginning a climb not for the faint of heart. It turned out he wasn't alone. A group of trainees were also carrying heavy sacks, struggling to climb the cliff. Jung Chon shouted from above in a commanding voice, "Fall, and there won't be a single bone left to pick up. Climb with all your might." A top-knot-haired trainee was gasping for breath, gritting his teeth and cursing silently. Madman, what a crazy bastard. Damn it, I shouldn't have followed him. Crack! The rock outcrop beneath the top-knot-haired trainee's foot crumbled. Losing his foothold, he and his heavy sack tumbled off the cliff. The trainee screamed in terror as he plummeted into the abyss. Whoosh! A hand swiftly grabbed the rope on his sack. Jung Chun had caught the trainee with just one hand, his expression icy. Below, another muscular trainee was still strenuously climbing. The top-knot-haired trainee turned pale with fear, stammering a plea. Please spare me. The muscular trainee gritted his teeth, steeled himself, and clung to the cliff face during the hellish training. Jung Chun's roar echoed throughout the mountains, cursing directly at the trainees. Don't fall asleep. Grab the rock in front of you. You fools. Dawn broke, signaling the start of an even more brutal day of training. The trainees, carrying enormous sacks, ran desperately under the command, "Run. If anyone falls behind, I'll carry them, and run." A townsperson curiously asked his mother, "Mom, are those death row prisoners?" but was explained that they were warriors of the Manhwa clan. Hua Dojin and Hua Soyeon, the two children, also bent their backs carrying loads, sweating profusely, but their eyes were still filled with determination. Hua Soyeon had reached her limit, sweat pouring down like rain, her eyes glazed over from exhaustion. Thud! Hua Soyeon collapsed face first onto the ground, unable to get back up, making Hua Dojin shout his sister's name. A muscular warrior named Zhou, who was running, stopped short when he heard the shout, turning back with a puzzled expression. Elder Zhou helped Hua Soyeon up, and the girl whispered a command, "Carry me for a bit, Elder Zhou, quickly." Elder Zhou wore a blank expression, completely failing to understand what was happening with this young lady. And so, Hua Soyeon proudly sat perched on Elder Zhou's shoulders, gliding amidst the struggling troops. Two other warriors, seeing the outrageous sight, snapped, "Hey, what are you doing?" Jiang Chun turned back with a sinister smile, issuing a gentle warning, "If you want to collapse like a little girl, I won't stop you, but you'll be betting your lives on it." The two men who had just spoken immediately turned pale, running headlong as if chased by ghosts, not daring to utter another word. At the end of the training session, all the warriors lay sprawled on the ground like a bunch of drowned corpses, gasping for breath. A goatee-wearing trainee, the one always at the bottom of the ranks, sat panting heavily, sweat pouring like a stream. "Hey!" A cold voice rang out right beside the weak trainee. The muscular squad leader stood with hands on hips, questioning with a stern face. "Every training session, you fall behind, and you fail to meet your quota. How long do you plan to continue like this?" The squad leader growled, his patience worn thin. "How much longer do I have to suffer because of you?" The squad leader continued to insult the goatee trainee. "If you can't handle it, get out. Don't be a burden to others. Hey, are you listening?" Zhang Chun's gaze sharpened, and he uttered a chilling remark. "I said I would kill you," leaving the squad leader stunned. The goatee trainee retorted, not to the squad leader but to Zhang Chun. "Do you think I want to do this? I've wanted to quit being a martial artist for a long time." Only then did the squad leader realize he was ignored, his face turning pale. But he dared to speak to the young master like that. Another muscular trainee interjected, mocking the goatee trainee. "Oh, are you afraid of being beaten to death if you speak up? Is that why you collapse like a rotten corpse every time?" The muscular trainee stepped forward, intending to strike. "I see you have no aptitude for being a martial artist. Let me send you off quickly." Cholboin and another warrior had to intervene. Hey, stop it. Not everyone is like you. The muscular trainee furiously clenched his fist, clearly unwilling to let it go. He roared and charged forward. Then don't be a martial artist from the start. Whoosh! Shang Chun silently stood in front of him, his voice even, "Get up. I'll kill you first." The muscular trainee swung his fist, shouting, "Stop." Chilboin and Warrior Joe continued to mediate. That guy is also trying his best. Once you're in the Manhwa clan, you're all brothers. Stop it. The muscular trainee furiously yelled, "Brothers? You call this trash a brother? How much longer do we have to endure this foolishness?" He pointed at the kneeling goatee trainee. "Do you think you'll get stronger like this? This isn't what we want." The bald warrior Jungsan spoke up. "The young master has been active in the martial world for more years than us. This isn't as meaningless as you think." Jungsan concluded with a remark that silenced the muscular trainee. "Only when you surpass the young master should you utter such words." The muscular trainee reluctantly turned away, but didn't forget to throw a threat at the goatee trainee. "Humph, if you cause me trouble again, you'll die by my hand before you die by the young master's." Night fell, and the hellish training session temporarily concluded. Jung Chon, while resting, let out a soft groan, seemingly unwell. He slowly got up, still carrying the heavy sack. "Damn it, the latrine is so far away." The muscular trainee on night watch frowned. "What's going on? Who's still wandering around at this hour?" As he turned around, he was stunned to see a dark shadow flash past like lightning. Thud. The dark shadow landed, its eyes glowing with a deadly crimson light. It turned out to be Jung Chon, wielding a great saber with terrifying speed, leaving the trainee gaping. "Young master?" The muscular trainee broke out in a cold sweat, unable to believe his eyes. Jung Chon continued to stomp his foot to gain footing, his killing intent surging. Each of his sword strikes was so fast that the trainee could only stammer. "Young Master Mujin?" He swung his sword, creating streams of brilliant blue sword energy that illuminated a section of the night sky. The trainee muttered in horror. Not only fast, the movements are both powerful and agile. He couldn't understand why a kid his age could reach this level. Each of Jung Chon's sword strikes was like a storm, leaving the trainee only able to watch. How can he wield a sword like that? The trainee was utterly speechless, sweat pouring down his face. Is this the realm of a martial arts genius? Jung Chon concluded his sword dance with a powerful stomp. He subtly glanced, having already detected someone lurking. "Who's there?" Jung Chon spoke coldly. "Crawl out here before I smash your skull." The muscular trainee tremblingly stepped out. It's me, young Master Mujin." He hastily explained he had merely passed by accidentally on his way back from the latrine, with no intention of peeking. Jung Chon smirked. "Is that so? I'm bored right now. Perfect. Drop the sack of rice and pick up the sword next to you." Thump! The trainee obediently dropped the heavy sack to the ground. Jung Chon stood high above, looking down, gesturing for the trainee to climb up and fight him, like a deity bestowing an opportunity upon a mortal. The muscular trainee gritted his teeth, deciding to go all out. "All right." Jung Chon stood high above, his eyes imperious. He commanded, "Come up here." Whoosh! The trainee leaped onto the cliff face, his speed far from ordinary. Clang! The two swords clashed, sparking, commencing an uneven battle. The trainee charged forward with a preemptive strike, his sword light flashing in an instant. He unleashed a dangerous sword strike, a smug smile on his lips. Jung Chon merely tilted his body slightly, casually dodging the attack as if it were nothing. Clang! Clang! Both sides continuously exchanged moves, the harsh sound of metal clashing. The trainee broke out in a cold sweat, realizing his attacks were completely useless. "I knew it wouldn't work. But my sword." He still tried to unleash another sword strike, wondering how he could be so fast. But Jung Chon was even faster. He easily blocked the trainee's attack. Jung Chon smirked mockingly, his eyes flashing with amusement. You're finally a little useful." Jung Chon began his counterattack, swinging his sword with terrifying speed. However, he chided his opponent for focusing too much on what was in front, then delivered a devastating kick to the trainee's face. Whoosh! The trainee flew like a kite with a broken string after Jung Chon's kick. Thud! He landed face first, his hands still desperately clinging to the ground. The trainee quickly sprang up, swinging his sword to block Jung Chon's next attack. Although he blocked it, the impact still left the trainee dazed. "Ugh, just as I thought." Jung Chon feigned surprise. "Oh? Last time, one hit sent you down, but now, your stubbornness is finally proving somewhat useful." The trainee stood firm, realizing he had improved. No longer being defeated in a single blow, he muttered, "Good. That's enough for today. Jungchun coldly declared the training session over. I'm leaving. Rest, then turned his back and left the trainee behind. The muscular trainee gripped his saber tightly, a glint in his eyes as he realized something after the ordeal. Could it be? The next day, Jungchun announced an even more bizarre new exercise. Today, it's core training. Everyone, clench rice sacks between your thighs and hang yourselves up. All the warriors screamed in pain, desperately hanging themselves on the bar with heavy rice sacks clenched between their legs. The muscular trainee gritted his teeth, flexing all his muscles to avoid falling like a worthless wretch. Sweat poured down like rain, his face strained and veiny as he pushed his body to its absolute limit. The trainee, squad leader, and his companions watched, eyes wide and mouths agape. Incredible. These guys are truly tough. Even more fired up than before. That wasn't all. The entire group then had to carry rice sacks and sprint through the streets, a truly hellish physical exercise. The goatee-wearing trainee was gasping for breath, staggering as if about to collapse. He vowed internally not to fall again, refusing to become a laughingstock for all to see. With what little willpower remained, the goatee-wearing man gritted his teeth, pushed himself up, and continued to trudge forward. Suddenly, the muscular trainee ran over and patted his shoulder in encouragement. Keep going. We're almost there, acting like a proper senior. Jungchun ran alongside them, carrying a rice sack as if it weighed nothing, observing everyone with a subtle, knowing smirk. A month passed, and Jungchun announced the special training period was over, acknowledging everyone's efforts. As soon as he finished speaking, they all simultaneously threw their rice sacks to the ground. The sound echoed like thunder, and everyone sighed in relief. Jungchun chuckled mockingly, dampening their spirits. Apologies for ruining your fun, but he announced that this hell would repeat every summer and winter, making all the trainees, especially the muscular one and the goatee-wearing one, turn pale. He even mockingly comforted them, saying that next time would be easier since they had already experienced the ordeal. His younger siblings, Hua Soyun and Hua Dojin, stood in the ranks, their faces as cold as ice, clearly considering that experience worthless. Jung Cheon concluded the training session. In short, the exercises are over, but don't forget, a strong body will become a sharp sword. The trainees unanimously shouted, "Understood!" ready for the next round of torture. Jungchon gripped the hilt of his saber, declaring, and from now on, exuding killing intent, he announced that he would unlock practical combat training to elevate everyone's experience. Jung-san and Cheol-boin froze stiff upon hearing the command. Whoever is called, voluntarily choose your weapon and step forward. Their joy was short-lived. He toyed with them like chicks, and an endless series of torment began. But through hell, experience was accumulated, and experience brought change. The notorious Zhongshan's 4 demons bandits had now transformed into the new martial arts instructors of the Yomhua clan. Meanwhile, his younger siblings, Hua Dojin and Hua Soyun, were also quietly maturing, contributing to the clan's revival. The Yomhua clan was gradually reclaiming its former glory, shining brightly across the entire Xichang region. Young Hua Dojin let out a roar, throwing himself into training like a madman. He landed a straight punch on one of the 4 demons, earning praise. Well done, young master. The instructor pointed out, rotate your pivot foot when striking, and your punch will be stronger. The chief steward and another retainer watched, delighted. Look, young Master Dojin has regained his form. Hua Dojin looked full of confidence, making the chief steward surprised that he got along so well with the 4 demons. The chief steward nodded in approval, believing the greatest credit belonged to young Master Mujin, who had stabilized the entire clan. The retainer, however, was worried, recalling Jungchon's fits of madness and wondering if he would emerge from the warehouse today. The warehouse door remained silently closed under the setting sun. Inside, Jungchon was meditating, struggling with the surging blue righteous energy of the heavenly martial saint body. He closed his eyes, trying to suppress the pure yang power that was fiercely clashing with his demonic arts. His eyes snapped open, glowing with the blue light of righteous energy, and he muttered, "Is this already the 4th day?" Jungchon realized this screen was no ordinary object. It was resisting his internal energy. The blue righteous energy from the heavenly martial saint body surged, directly confronting the demonic god's demonic energy. He growled, "Let's see who wins," deciding to fight to the death with this very body. Crimson demonic energy and azure righteous energy clashed fiercely. A true internal battle. The demonic god's eyes flashed with deadly crimson light. He had lost all patience with this childish game. Crash. A heaven-shattering punch was unleashed. He used absolute power to punch directly into the screen, determined to shatter whatever was obstructing him. The demonic god let out a roar, releasing all his frustration into the punch. After shattering the screen, he discovered a secret compartment inside. A strange object fell out from the broken pieces, rolling across the floor. He curiously looked down at a small porcelain vial containing a smoking green liquid. Dantian picked it up. The pungent smell of poison emanating from it made him grimace. So, this was the source of that discomfort. He glanced to the side, noticing another object that had been flung out. An old, tattered book was lying haphazardly on the floor. He picked it up and read the words on the cover. Soul-severing sword art? A contemptuous smirk appeared on his face. Oh, so this is what they tried to hide? Let's see what's so special about it. The sunlight began to emerge, signaling the start of a new day. After skimming through the secret manual, Dantian sighed in disappointment. This level is only on par with one of the 10 great masters of Hubei. He pursed his lips, clearly disdainful of this martial art as too mediocre for his level. It's not entirely a waste of time, though. But this method of cultivating internal energy and training, compared to my movement techniques, is more suitable for the Manhwa clan members. Dantian muttered, finally understanding why he couldn't teach those weaklings. Their cultivation methods, and his were completely incompatible. He analyzed. The Peerless Nine Swords was a movement technique, while the Hua clan's martial arts were vigorous and yang-aligned. Mixing the two would only lead to chi deviation. That was why the Peerless Nine Swords could only be passed on to a blank slate, someone who had never belonged to any sect. Dantian realized he was incredibly lucky. This body had a shattered Dantian, completely empty, which was the perfect condition to practice the movement technique without hindrance. He curled his lips into an arrogant smile. Good. From today, this will be the Hua clan's sword art. Dantian tossed the secret manual to the chief steward, ordering, "Read it. I find it quite decent." Chief Steward Du Baexian and Elder Zhou gaped in horror. Heavens! This is the heart-severing sword art, a secret manual lost for over 10 years. Dantian crossed his arms and casually stated, "Indeed, that swindler probably never imagined it would be hidden there." Elder Zhou stammered, asking if he intended to teach it to the warriors, and Dantian replied curtly, "Of course, we're lacking a decent sword art anyway." Dantian declared he would personally teach starting tomorrow, then left the two bewildered old men behind, saying, "If you two want to learn, copy it yourselves. I'm going to sleep." The next morning, while Dantian was still half asleep, the chief steward and Elder Zhou jumped up and celebrated like children receiving gifts. It wasn't just those two old men who were ecstatic with joy. The entire Manhwa clan's warriors were like fish in water, frantically practicing the new sword art, their morale soaring to the heavens. His two younger siblings, Hua Dojin and Hua Soyun, were no exception, their eyes filled with determination as they practiced the clan's secret manual. Zhongshan's 4 demons were also diligently training in their own way, their skill level already that of masters, even without a secret manual. A month passed in the blink of an eye, and the room door opened. Dantian stepped out onto the training ground alone under the morning sun. He smiled contentedly, seeing everyone full of vitality since they began practicing martial arts, especially the two youngsters. Hua Dojin and Hua Soyun were unleashing powerful moves, their talent truly formidable. Their progress could be felt daily. Dantian watched his two siblings enthusiastically practicing, and smiled faintly. How cute. Dantian went to the training ground, found it empty, and wondered, why is it as deserted as an abandoned temple? Masok appeared, and Dantian asked directly, "Where has everyone gone?" Masok calmly replied that today was the day of the Little Dragon Ascension tournament. The retainer explained that this was the biggest event in Xichang every 5 years, a pass to the official tournament, and Dantian had clearly completely forgotten. Whoosh! Before the sentence was finished, Dantian had vanished like a gust of wind, leaving Masok bewildered. The demonic god unleashed his speed, gliding like a blur, his muscles rippling. He roared in frustration, annoyed that the old men of the clan intended to watch the good show alone without inviting him. Dantian continued his superb parkour, leaping over rooftops across the city. Meanwhile, at the tournament area, a muscular guardian was leading Hua Dojin and Hua Soyun to register. When it was their turn, the two Hua youngsters were extremely excited, finally getting to compete. Suddenly, a voice rang out, recognizing the identity of the Hua clan's children. Chief Steward Zhang Xiyun and young master Baek Sion of the Baek clan appeared, blocking their path with an arrogant attitude. The Hua clan's guardian quickly bowed in greeting, explaining that the clan's difficulties had prevented them from participating for so long. Zhang Xiyun sneered, beginning a harsh taunting session, mocking the dilapidated Hua clan for still having money to enter the tournament. The chief steward stepped closer, his voice filled with hostility, sarcastic about the membership fees the Hua clan had owed for 10 years. Hua Dojin and Hua Soyun were not to be trifled with. They glared back, their eyes sharp, ready to fight to the bitter end. High above, Chung Chun had landed on a rooftop, observing the entire area. He muttered curses, blaming himself for not asking Masok for the exact location before leaving. From the rooftop, the demonic god scanned the city to find the venue. Finally, he located his target, a large plaza packed with people. A beautiful woman wearing a conical hat appeared in the street, her radiant aura making two passers-by marvel. Beneath the brim of her hat, the girl's lips curled slightly, exuding confidence. The girl named He commented, "So this is Shichang. It's suffocatingly crowded." Distracted, Hai was bumped by Zhongchun's shoulder as he was hurrying to find his way. Zhongchun muttered to himself, frustrated that he couldn't find the tournament venue. Losing patience, the demonic god turned and asked Hai directly, "Hey, do you know where the Little Dragon Ascension tournament is being held?" An old man accompanying Hai appeared and answered for her. "Excuse me, we just arrived here ourselves." The long-bearded old man continued, saying they were also looking around. A strange glint appeared in the old man's eyes as he looked at Zhongchun, and he requested, "Young man, if you find it first, please show us." Zhongchun glanced at the old man with a sharp, cold gaze, clearly having no interest in helping. The demonic god snapped back, "What the hell, don't you have legs? Go find it yourselves." With that said, he erupted with chi force, kicking up dust, and left, leaving the other two in astonishment. The old man watched Zhongchun's retreating back and remarked, "I've never seen anyone so rude." Hai curiously asked, "Grandpa, could that person be?" The old man confirmed immediately, "Indeed, Hie. That is the Hua clan's grandson, Hua Mujin." Zhongchun suddenly stopped, sensed something amiss, and muttered, "A great storm is about to sweep through Xichang." Meanwhile, the Hua youngsters and their muscular guardian were blocked by the Bake clan's people. The surrounding townspeople gathered to eavesdrop, and the atmosphere grew tense. The Bake clan's chief steward, Zhang Xiyun, spoke up to taunt the guardian. "I hear young Master Mujin has recovered recently, and your clan's situation is improving, isn't it?" He continued sarcastically. "The delayed membership fees will be paid back soon, won't they?" "Oh, are you planning to pay them back in another 10 years? The Bake clan steward continued to taunt, claiming that the Hua family youngsters participating in the tournament was proof they had broken ancestral rules regarding the transmission of secret techniques. He laughed disgustingly, sarcastically remarking that the Hua family was hastily trying to recover after their young master had just awakened from his madness. The Hua family guard could no longer hold back, veins bulging on his hands as he heard the opponent mention the Crimson Flame divine art in a challenging tone. His hand gripped his weapon tightly, and killing intent began to spread. Seeing his opponent about to lose his temper, the steward became even more provocative. "Oh? Are you going to draw your sword?" The guard growled, warning him to shut up because there were children present, asserting that his patience had limits. The Beck clan steward was not only unafraid, but even drew his sword first, challenging. "Still clinging to false pride? If you're so brave, draw your sword." The tension was palpable. Both sides were ready to clash fiercely right in the middle of the street. The gossiping crowd nearby began to whisper, seeing both sides had drawn their weapons, sensing something big was about to happen. Just then, Zhongchun appeared, his voice cold. "That's enough. Tonight is the children's stage. Adults have no business interfering." He declared that today's protagonists were the youngsters, the hope of this entire Xichang. The steward turned around, recognized the legendary mad young master Hua Mujin, and began to speak sarcastically. He sneered, asking what Zhongchun, the famously mad one, was doing here. Zhongchun ignored him, turning to gently chide his two younger siblings. "Why didn't you tell me about this?" The two youngsters stammered an explanation, saying they intended to win the tournament to surprise their elder brother. Zhongchun merely gently patted his younger sister's head, speechless at the children's innocence. He stepped forward, beginning his lecture. "A martial arts clan should display its martial prowess. Showing off money is merely third-rate trash." Zhongchun concluded. "A martial artist must believe in the sword. Who would believe in gold?" Infuriating the steward. "How dare you say that?" The old man accompanying Hai seemed amused by the sharp exchange, while the Bake clan steward remained vexed at being lectured by a mere youngster. The Bake clan steward provoked a strange old man, asking if he was from the Hua family, but was told directly to his face, "Mind your own business, old man." The old man accompanying Hai walked past, not forgetting to throw back a sarcastic remark at the steward. Truly insolent. Being brushed off, the steward turned to taunt Zhongchun, sneering, "Poverty isn't something to boast about in a martial arts clan, is it, young Master Hua?" He continued to mock, glancing at the two younger siblings before declaring, "You should have bought them new clothes, or did you spend all your money on the entry fee?" The muscular guard and Chief Steward Do Baekshun were boiling with rage. The guard roared, "I'll kill that bastard." The strange old man interjected again, retorting to the Baek clan steward, "Wearing fine clothes doesn't turn a weak martial artist into a master." The steward, vexed, walked away, promising to settle it on the martial arts stage to see their true skill level. Jung Chon merely glanced after him, his sharp, cold gaze unwavering. Jung Chon turned to the strange old man and said, "Don't mind him, there are always people like that everywhere," making the old man nod in agreement. The old man glanced at Jung Chon with amusement, clearly having his eye on this youngster. The muscular guard also squinted at the old man, muttering something. The guard felt that this old man looked strangely familiar, wondering if he was mistaken. A tournament staff member approached, asking if Jung Chon's group was from the Hua family. After confirmation, the staff member formally invited them to follow, announcing that special seating had been prepared. The entire group was led into the competition area, a vast and magnificent space. The full view of the arena appeared, extremely grand and crowded. It turned out that the special seating was an entire sumptuous banquet table, prepared solely to host the Hua family. Lobsters, steamed buns, and fine wine, all sorts of gourmet dishes were laid out in abundance. The two Hua siblings' eyes lit up, their mouths agape in astonishment. "Wow, why is there so much food?" Jung Chon chuckled, advising the youngsters, "Don't eat too much. We don't know when the matches will begin." A staff member announced loudly, inviting the Baek clan members to proceed to the VIP area, while Jung Chon and the youngsters were still seated at their banquet table. The Baek clan steward, Jang Seyoon, cast a disdainful glance in their direction, his arrogant expression as if the entire world belonged to him. The demonic god's madness surged, his eyes glowing crimson. "When should I crush that bastard? First, I must gouge out his eyes." Suddenly, a tall figure appeared beside Jung Chon's table. "This spot seems to be empty." A strange old man with a remarkable presence asked directly, "Do you mind if I sit with you?" Jung Chon glanced at him, thinking to himself what this old man was lingering around for, but then ignored it. "Do as you wish." He used sound transmission to warn the youngsters. "Everyone, put down your food. Do not touch the tea or wine. Do not eat until I eat first." Meanwhile, the young woman accompanying the old man slowly poured wine. "Please drink, sir." The old man took the cup of wine from the girl named Hia and thanked her. The old man turned to Jung Chon and offered, "Why don't you pick up your cup? Have a drink." Jung Chon coldly refused. "I just ate not long ago, don't mind me." Suddenly, a figure shot across the arena with astonishing speed. That person landed on the martial arts stage, declaring loudly, "Thank you all for attending the Rising Dragon tournament, held once every 5 years." He introduced himself as Sok Ildo, head of the Sok clan of Shichang, the organizer of the tournament. Sok Ildo continued his speech. "We have prepared some simple refreshments, so please eat, drink, and enjoy today's matches." Suddenly, Sok Ildo's eyes widened in horror as he recognized someone sitting in the spectator area. He frantically rushed straight towards Jung Chon's table. "Wait, sir. What are you doing here?" Sok Ildo bowed deeply to the strange old man, his voice full of reverence. "How could I not recognize the esteemed presence of the Poison Emperor, Tang Sumoon?" Huamujin's two younger siblings were bewildered, not understanding why the organizer was kowtowing before an old man. News of the Poison Emperor Tang Sumoon's appearance spread throughout the arena, shaking all the martial artists. The Central Plains martial arts world had only 4 individuals bearing the title of Emperor: the Wudang Sword Emperor, the Shaolin Fist Emperor, the 4 Martial Heavens Whip Emperor, and the Tang Clan Poison Emperor. One of the martial world's strongest figures condescended to watch a verbal sparring tournament for mere children in Xicheng. The Baek clan's chief steward, who had just provoked Zhang Qian's group, froze when he realized who the old man was. The steward broke out in a cold sweat, realizing he had just run his mouth in front of a living legend, and now only wished to disappear into the ground. While the whole world was in an uproar, demonic god Zhang Qian calmly sipped his tea. Zhang Qian muttered the name Tang Sumoon, trying to recall which insignificant nobody this old man was. Ah, he remembered now. He was just one of those younglings he had encountered in his previous life. In the demonic god's memories, when the decade-long war against the righteous factions erupted, 4 out of the 5 great clans cowardly stood aside. The reason they dared not participate was simply because the demonic god had single-handedly wiped out all their clan heads and key forces beforehand. And one of the younglings fortunate enough to survive that massacre was Tang Sumoon of the Tang clan. Returning to the present, the demonic god merely smirked, considering it an insignificant memory. The host, Sok Ildo, tried to invite the Poison Emperor to the VIP seats, but the old man flatly refused, saying it was more interesting to sit here. Sok Ildo was bewildered, unable to understand why such a prominent figure would want to sit in the common area. The host then recognized Jung Chon and invited both of them to the VIP section. Trying to salvage the situation, Jung Chon coldly brushed him off. My face isn't a signboard. It's natural not to recognize me. Just start the matches quickly. It's getting hot. Poison Emperor Tong Sumun looked at Jung Chon, his mind recalling an old friend, a formidable opponent who had revitalized him in the past. The old man muttered, Flame Emperor Hua Jute. This young man looks exactly like him.